Hey, so if you like my content, please subscribe to the channel or give me likes or comments under the videos. It really helps me out a lot. Thanks.
Uh, hey guys, so today we are talking about Lorwin Eclipsed. We are doing our first set review. There we will talk about all the relevant cards for European Highlander. Um, so Lorwyn, the set itself, or the original set, was happening 20 years ago. It was a tribal set. It had like all the original tribes, elves, merfolk, goblins, etc. In general, it was 8 tribes, and now we're returning back with Lorwyn Eclipsed this year. And yeah, that's about it. So this time, two of my friends are joining me. Um, it's Leon on my side and Dominic from India. And so, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, I'm Dom. I've been playing European Highlander since 2017, and once I got introduced to the format, I never looked back. It's my favorite way to play Magic and brew decks. I'm mostly known for never playing the same deck twice in a week, but I do love value decks, some combo decks, creature-based, mid-range, and recently I've fallen in love with Up the Beanstalk, so I'm definitely more than excited to talk about Lorwyn Eclipsed. Lots of bangers in there. Leon, who are you?
I'm Leon. I've been playing Highlander since 2013, and the decks I'm most used to play are Mono Red, Izzet, and Four Color Blood. But I also really like to play different decks occasionally.
Okay. So that's it with ourselves. Let's get to our first card.
And I like to mention Benny is our tribal champion. So I think we add each other's specialties very well.
Yeah.
Okay. So how we are gonna talk about the cards is the following way. We go via Wooburg order, also alphabetically. Should make it easier to navigate later. So first the monocolored cards in Wooburg order, then multicolor cards, land cards, and no artifacts this time. And yeah, let's dive right into the first white card, which is Adept Water Shaper, Benny.
Okay. Adept Water Shaper. It's 2 on the right. It's a 3 for Malfolk Cleric, and has the text other tapped creatures you control have indestructible. So this slots obviously inside a Merfolk deck. So if you want to play white in your Merfolk deck, traditionally they are either mono blue or blue green. If you slot white into it, then you get the value of your uh, attacking creatures getting indestructible. Um, Also, since you play white, you can technically play Mother of Runes in your Malfolk deck or in your other white aggressive decks, and works well with the Mother of Runes. Or if you played with Mana Dogs, it also protects the Mana Dogs. You have to be careful uh, with like alpha swings, because like if you attack and your adept water shaper gets killed, you can be blown out a little bit. In general, like 3-4 are good stats, and therefore it's hard or harder to kill. So I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, do you have anything to add, friends?
Mm,
Yeah, for me, what the interesting question is also, does this slot into DNT that is a bit more mid-rangey? I see Ancient 2 mana, which is nice. Also, play patterns will sometimes be you play this and just full swing, triggering other attack triggers, for example, very safely. It's certainly an option. I don't see it as much in Celestia. It's not really a slot in, doesn't really solve any issues there. Although it's interesting, you can like mana dog into it, and your mana dog is safe from stuff. But ideally, I mean, your opponent will want to kill this one, and it doesn't protect itself. So really cool card. Definitely Bunt, Merfolk, more than playable D&T maybe warrants a testing. Leon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you pretty much said it all.
I have one more thing to add. So, like, banned Malfolk is a little bit more value, but maybe, I mean, you can try it. And also, I realized that a lot of white Malfolk especially have tap abilities. So the original, like, Lorwin Malfolk cared a lot about tapping and untapping. So if you get, like,
Oh,
old cards, you can get some more value of the Adept Water Shaper.
yeah. I mean, and the last thing here, maybe there's cool play patterns where you have this out, and in response to removal spell, you kind of play a tapper Merfolk, and then in response tap your own creature to save it. Lots of play to this card while being like one line of effect text. So great design, right? Makes you
Yeah.
think a lot about implications, which is true for a lot of cards in this set, and we have quite some ahead of us.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Ajani Outland Chaperone. That's mine. The new Ajani is a 3-drop planeswalker for 1 generic 2 white. It comes with 3 loyalty. It has a +1 ability, makes a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token. -2, it deals 4 damage to target tapped creature. And -8 basically brings X 3 drops or less from the top of your library, where X is your life total. So should flood the board easily in decks you're playing this in. I like this Planeswalker for different reasons. The first I want to say is it's a very simple and elegant design. We haven't seen much of that recently. I mean, it's very basic. +1 protects itself, creates a body. -2 removal. -8 should win the game. The question is, in today's environment, is this still good enough? Obviously, the protecting itself is great. The removal, however, is conditional. And even a lot of tap creatures in Highlander nowadays are just too big. Like think Psychic Frog, think all the Goyfs, Murktide Regent. So this will not always solve your biggest issue. Also, there's gonna be play patterns where your opponent plays a creature, and it's his first creature. It's untapped. You play Ajani. You can't remove the opposing creature. You can only create a blocker, which then makes the question valid if this is even worth it for 3 mana. But yeah, where does it slot in? I might try it in Polymorph, for example, a deck that wants a density of token makers that also have other functions. But obviously that's like more of a niche brew. Blue-white control, I think, has a lot of other options here, but might warrant a testing. Yeah, it's interesting enough to think about, have it on your radar, but it's not like an instant staple. So let's see where Ajani ends up being. Leon, anything to share?
Yeah, I personally am really high on this card because it reminds me a lot of Grist, the +1 to make a 1/1 and the conditional removal. Grist, of course, has the extra value of being searchable by Green Sun Sinus, for example. Yeah, but Grist is pretty much a staple in Highlander, so I think this one will slot in a lot of white decks, even 3-color decks, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a solid card.
Benny?
I have nothing to add here.
No. Okay, just one last thing. Obviously, the -2 plays like a mental game where your opponent really has to think if they are attacking, which creatures do they want to like turn sideways, right? So it might even be a hidden mode or something. But I think we delve deeply enough into Ajani. Sounds okay. That sounds a bit nasty. No. All right. Next up is Bridget Clation's Heart / Bridget Dome's Mind. Leon, it's
Yeah,
yours.
Brigid Clashon's Heart, 2 and a white, is a 3/2 Kiskin warrior. Whenever this creature enters or transforms into Brigid, create a 1/1 green-white Kiskin creature token. At the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay green if you do transform Brigid. And the flip side has tap at X green or X right, where X is the number of other creatures you control, and it's able to flip back by paying 1 white, also at the beginning of your first main phase, and it stays a 3/2. So yeah, this one is pretty hard to evaluate just because it has so much text on it. And yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is like maybe in Craterhoof. Uh, yeah, but it would have been obviously better if it would count itself for the tap ability. But I think playing this on turn 2 with a mana elf can be pretty strong. And yeah. So, Ben, you got anything to add?
Yeah, so 4 power, 3 toughness over like 2 creatures on the front side. If you play, for example, like Celestia tokens or like Naya tokens, maybe you want to play it since the flip side can add a lot of mana, and then maybe could work well with like token spells, like X token spells. Like the flip cards, all the flip cards in the set, a little bit hard to evaluate. I'm not sure if they're designed a little bit too safe, but I think that it's hard. It's easy to to not like to underevaluate. Basically, is like the flipping cards low. If you always have like 1 mana flipping it back and forth, it could create a lot of value. And we will see how the cards will play.
Yeah. I have nothing to add. I like the card. In Celestia specifically, it's a self-fueling engine. Let's see where it goes. Which brings us to the next card. It's Kinscare Sentry. Benny, take it home.
The Kinscare Sentry, it's 1 in the white. It's a Kithkin soldier, and it's a 2/2 with first strike and lifelink. And whenever this creature attacks, you may put a creature card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking, where X is the number of attacking creatures you control. So, if you play white small creatures, if you like to attack, this card is a great addition to your deck, I believe. So first of all, first strike. It's not only good aggressively; it's even better defensively. Lifelink can help you against like other aggressive decks, or if you want to waste and like cheating stuff into play. For example, imagine you put in the bombardiers. I think it works. It's attacking, so you get the boss trigger, and then the opponent has really hard to block. And because you cheated the card into play, you also can react with maybe removal spells or pump spells or whatever. So the hard thing is obviously it has to stay. You have to play it and then go to your next turn and then attack with it. So if you usually play it, it seems like a must kill because it jumps you so much ahead in the curve. Kiskin, the type Kiskin is not for Highlander really important. The type Soldier might be important for tribal decks. Yeah, that's about it.
No, I think you basically covered all of it. The flaw on this is a 2 mana 2/2 first strike lifelink, and that can already be very good. And it's this kind of card where your opponent can't really ignore it. So even if you don't have anything that enables this ability really well, your opponent might be scared of what this card can do. Might fire a removal spell on it, and you're like, yeah, I'm fine losing this. Didn't really work for me, but thanks for really respecting it. So I think this is a really cool card that I see slotting into D&T, specifically White Weenie, these sorts of decks. But yeah, Leon, do you see this anywhere else?
No, but I think it will be a staple because it has so much potential of generating tempo, and the floor, like you said, is already really high with premium abilities like First Strike and Lifelink. And what I find really interesting is I can't think of another white card that gives your creatures haste.
Yeah, there's one Kitkin. I think it's originally from Lorwyn 2. It has a similar ability, so maybe this is like a spin-off of it. It's like a 3-mana 2/2 with First Strike, and it puts another Kithkin into play. Um, so yeah. So there's one more card, but it's the only Kithkin card, and Kithkin are traditionally not the strongest like tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. Last thought. I think this also gets stronger the more card draw you have in white. For example, the Savannah lines that can draw you like 2 drops or 3 drops from the top of your library. Also, that water bending 2 drop from Avatar, where you constantly refill your hand in a way. So these get added value with this in your deck. But like obviously you shouldn't build around it. Okay, Benny, you have also Personify to talk about.
Okay, Personify is a 1 in a white instant. It says exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Create a 1/1 colorless shapeshifter token with Changeling. So, it's a blink spell. So it exiles and puts it back immediately. So if you, for example, play Ephemerate, you might want to might want to add this to your deck. So if you, for example, play like a humans deck, maybe, so a deck which has a lot of ETB triggers, but you also care about having a shapeshifter, it can be decent. If you play like a blink strategy, which are traditionally banned, or maybe Esper, you can play it, and there the extra body can help you with things like Court of Calling, or like um surprising your opponent while they're attacking you. Yeah, in general, it's a decent card, not the best, but I thought it was worth talking about it.
Yeah, I feel in this environment 2 mana blink spells are a lot very expensive for what they do. Ephemerate is so much above the rest of these that it's sometimes hard to imagine this seeing play. But I think if you're really interested in the 1/1 token, this is a great inclusion if you also have a lot of ETBs. For example, in elves, if for some reason you play white, but also like it in humans, where it can trigger your Talia's Lieutenant and whatnot. And you have a lot of ETB, you have a lot of first strike, so that's also great to blink and first strike something down. Yeah, I like the card. It's certainly one of the better blink spells we've seen, but it's really down to very like specific strategies. Leon?
Yeah, you pretty much covered it all.
Okay, which brings us to Rise the Evermore. This is mine. It's a 2-drop. It's for 1 generic and a white. It has 2/2. It's also an elf warrior. It has flash. And when Rise enters, another target creature you control gains persist until end of turn. For those that don't remember persist, if the creature with persist dies, it returns to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter, but only if it didn't have one. So you can't like consistently persist on the same creature. Also comes with an activated ability, 1 white tap, and you can remove any numbers of counters from target creatures, so that can circumvent the downside of persist. But where I mostly see this is in combo strategies. So we've seen cards that do similar things, like Safi Eric's Daughter, where you can sort of bring back creatures you sacrifice immediately. And also this persist ability can be an upside if you have other cards that add counters. So a classic example is the Kitchen Things, Sack Outlet, um, a Melira combo or an Offenser combo where you sacrifice your Kitchen Things, you bring it back with a -1/-1 counter, the counter gets cancelled. Obviously, this is a one-time effect because it depends on Rise ETB, but I think it's pretty cool that this can slot into this deck anyway because it has so much versatility while you play this. You can save your creatures, you can rebuy an ETB. A 2/2 flash creature itself is just solid to swing combat in your favor. The activated ability, I don't know much about that. Mostly it's there for the set's theme of -1/-1 counters. But there might be cases where you remove a stun counter or two, if that comes up. It will come up sometime, but we don't talk about this card because of the activated ability necessarily. I like the combo implications here. What do you think, Benny? Can this slot into just like D&T, for example?
I've not played D&T for some time, but in general, I think it's not strong enough. But it might be playable if you play like Azorius Flash. In general, having white legends is kind of an upside sometimes because you play Carakas most of the time, and like in this case, you could like save, like get the Riz and save another creature if you have a lot of mana. So maybe it's okay for D&T for some versions because like D&T has often a lot of mana and can use mana sinks very well.
Yeah, I just want to
The only thing, Leon, go ahead.
I just want to add, I really like the risk for in combination with Fury, Grief, and Solitude, which all see a lot of play. So having the play pattern of griefing in or of evoking your grief turn 2, getting it back with the rise seems really juicy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Also, one note, there are obviously evoke elementals in this set, but that play pattern is not that great because you can't get the cast trigger. But yeah, this was Solitude, Grief, even Endurance, really nice. One note of D&T, obviously you have a lot of 1 toughness creatures, so this doesn't do much, although it rebuys an ETB if you kill a 1 toughness. If a 1 toughness creature gets killed and you persist it, you can get another trigger of your elite spellbinder, for example. Yeah, one of my actually like favorite designs in the set. I think this has a lot of implications for various deck types. Really excited to try this out. Which brings us to Wanda Brian Trapper is a 1-drop Merfolk. I took this one. It's a 2/1, the Savannah Alliance. And it has the ability of 1 tap and tap another untapped creature you control to tap down a creature an opponent controls. I think this is one of the best Savannah lines we've ever had, just for the fact that tapping down creatures is incredibly strong for 1 mana. Wizards hasn't really printed good tappers in a while, so this is a bit surprising. So what this essentially does is a 1-drop aggressive creature that in the mid to late game basically always removes the opponent's best creature from combat. In the decks that want to play this, having another untapped creature is not that big of a deal. And once you got this engine going, I imagine there's a lot of cases where you will have 1 creature that can attack favorably for you. And obviously with tappers, you can do this, like enable this final swing where at the end of the opposing turn, you tap down a creature in your own turn, you tap down another creature, clear up blockers, and just go for the win. So yeah, I think this is one of the best cards in the set. And maybe that's a hot take, but what do you think, Leon?
Yeah, premium 1-drop, nothing more to add.
I want to add, so I want to start experimenting with like white on the Merfolk deck, and it works well with the first card that we talked about, which cared about like cards being tapped. So with this guy, you could save 2 of your creatures by making them indestructible. So you can, the first 2 turns, like especially in the Merfolk deck, attack with it. At some point when the board it's a little bit like more filled, and the 2-1 is outclassed, you can start tapping down stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Merfolk, you have a lot of effects that untap sometimes your entire team or Merfolk, so you can kind of surprise tap with this guy, even if you pass your turn with only this untapped. Uh, yeah, I think this has amazing gameplay implications that will definitely have an impact if you include this card. Okay, moving on, we have the Flittering Nuisance, and that's one is Leon's.
Yeah, Flittering Nuisance for 1 blue, a Fairy Rogue 2/2 with flying. This creature enters with a -1/-1 counter on it. For 2 generic and a blue, and removing a counter from it. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw a card. Yeah, so the only place where I see this card is for Flying Man. I think for Izzet or blue-based tempo, it is a little too weak, because the activated ability is pretty expensive, and usually you want to keep your mana up, but you have to pay the ability in your turn to get the value out of it. But I think it is a nice addition for Flying Man. Yeah. Benny, you got anything to add?
Yes. So it's a fairy. So like a lot of cards that we will talk about, there's like tribal, like a tribal background for the cards, and if you wanna play a fairy deck, like having 1-drop is pretty premium, I think. Yeah, 1/1 is not the strongest thing, but with blue black you will get to the late game, and then instant speed, having 3 mana to do some stuff can be valuable. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I just thought this like, how is this beetle a fairy? And then I saw actually a fairy riding the beetle. I don't know. I have this issue where I see card artwork, and for some reason my brain just deletes riders, and I only look at the vehicles or mounts. Uh, yeah, but cool card.
Yeah, the
Which
classic.
brings us to
It's a
yeah.
classical thing
We
with
talked about
Archons.
artwork characters.
With Archons, it's the same thing. Like
Oh
all
yeah,
the Archons have always big things that they ride, and you never see the
yeah.
riders.
Yeah, and to be honest, like imagine you summon this thing as an opponent, I would be like, oh, this beetle is gonna like trash my face, and this fairy's like whatever. Okay, but let's keep our focus here. Let's talk about Glamourmite, and that's mine. It's a 3-mana 2/2 fairy rogue with flash and flying. It enters, and you can either tap a creature or untap one. Why I talk about this? Splinter Twin and Kiki Jiki. Yeah, this is another creature in the lines of Pestermite and Deceiver Exarch, that combo with Splinter Twin and Kiki Jiki. You summon a copy of this, you untap either the creature that is enchanted by Splinter Twin or your Kiki Jiki, and rinse and repeat, and you bash your opponent with infinite flyers. Yeah, density is the number one issue these decks had or still have. Let's see. Where you basically only had a handful of creatures that made sense to play and that would not outright be totally bad without your combo piece. Like Deceiver Exarch and Pestamite are still better. The insane thing about these creatures is that end of opponent's turn, you can even tap down a mana source, whereas Glamourmite can't do that. But a 3-mana 2/2 flash flyer with this ability is also like fine. This will stop your opponent from killing you one turn later. No, wait, double negative. You will die one turn later. But also untapping a creature to block and swing your combat in your favor. So I love combo pieces that are not like complete garbage by themselves. And I think we've got a candidate here. Excited to brew Splinter Twin, and this is not the only Splinter Twin creature in the set, which is amazing. And fun fact, Jeskai Splinter Twin was the very first Highlander deck I ever built. Did you know that? No, you didn't. No, you do. I mean, you don't know me, right? So, well, something you've learned from the get-go. Anything to add, boys?
I mean, it's like the previous card. I am gonna take Benny's part on this time. Like the previous card, it's also a fairy. So maybe it makes after this set we will be able to play the fairy archetype in Highlander.
Yeah, it's a filler there.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have the Glenelandra Guardian, Leon.
Yeah, so Glenelandra Guardian for 2 generic, the blue. It's a fairy wizard, 3/4 with flash flying, and it enters with a -1/-1 counter, and it has the activated ability for 1 generic, 1 blue, remove a counter from this creature, counter target non-creature spell, its controller draws a card. Yeah, I think it is a nice option to have. It lines in with other flash 3-drops like Tishana's Tidebinder or the Merfolk that makes treasures when opponents draws cards.
Hullbreacher.
Yeah, the Hullbreacher, thank you. What I like about this one is it has evasion because the other two do not. And that was always something that bothered me when playing Izzet, because pretty much all your creatures have evasion, and yeah, that's something that I'm really high on. The activated ability, I think it's useful. Of course, that making your opponent draw a card is not so good, but they have to spend the mana. So maybe you can get a little bit of tempo out of it, and just having the possibility of countering something big like a planeswalker or even a removal spell can be pretty nice. So I for sure will try this out in Izzet, and yeah, three power in the air is no joke.
I also want to add that it could work with things like Orcish Bowmasters or Hullbreacher, because like making the opponent draw a card can be sometimes an upside. It also can work well with things like Ephemerate. If you play them together, you can like replay your thing with it and then counter more stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Also, it's a wizard.
Yeah. So I'm not too high on this card because it enters as a 2/3. But thinking more about it, the onboard activation ability is incredibly strong. Your opponent has to play around known information, and all the while you still hold up other things, right? So let's say your opponent tries to do something to bait you removing the counter, and you're like, okay, I just play Mana League and even leave this up, you know? I think this is a very high skill card that I'm excited to see play. And just to mention it, obviously for fairy density and also wizard density, Riptide Lab on this. Whew, that's hot. But maybe also that one is a bit too much commitment. Let's see. Although Wizards is a tribe, so who knows? Yeah, there's Wizard Matters cards, but let's not distract
I mean,
ourselves too much.
There's a pretty
Luca.
significant one. I forgot the name of it. The 3 mana spell. Can you help me, Benny?
What do you mean?
Where you have to control a wizard to choose 2 modes. You either
Ah.
draw 2 cards.
Flame of Honor.
Yeah, Flame of Honor.
Thank
so
you.
Flame of Honor could
Yeah,
work.
which is
yeah.
a staple
Yeah,
in my
no,
mind.
good point.
In Is It?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Wizard is relevant even if you're not building wizards.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on then to the Lockmare and Leon being our tempo blue expert. Let's go.
Yeah, Lockmare for 1 generic, 1 blue is a 4/5 horse serpent. This creature enters with 3 -1/-1 counters on it. It has the ability of remove a counter from this creature, draw a card for 1 generic, 1 blue, and for 2 generic and 1 blue, and removing 2 counters from it, you can put a stun counter on a creature and tap it. So, yeah, it has a lot of text on it, and I think it's really slow and really mana intensive, but at the same time, you can get a ton of value out of it. So when the game goes longer and is a little more grindy, if you're able to draw 3 cards out of it and got a 4/5 creature on the board, I think it can win games, of course. But I don't see it in tempo yet, just because it's so mana intensive, and usually you are not playing a ton of lands. So I'm most of the time I get stuck on 3 lands for a couple of turns, but you can use the ability at instant speed, so that's nice. So you can, when you already got it on the board, you can hold up counter magic, and if your opponent does not play anything, you can, and at the end of their turn, you can remove a counter to fill up your hand. So maybe I will try it out, but yeah, I'm unsure about this one.
Yeah. So it's starting as a 1/2 is not great. Maybe if you play blue mid range, you rather want it. But for tempo with less lands, it's not that great. Yeah, it's flexible, but it's an okay card, I think.
Yeah, like we had so many good blue mythics recently, like Quantum Riddler, Wan Shi Tong. I'm just grateful that Wizards was like, okay, let's give them a nice little card they can think about. But yeah, I share all the other sentiments.
I mean, what I also want to add is that from Tamio, we know that even early on, it's sometimes not so bad to pay 2 mana to crack a clue. So I think this one is really easy to underrate and might be way better than we think it is.
Good point. It feels like a card that could be like either 5 or 40 euros, right?
Or 50
So
cents.
let's see where this goes. All right, which brings us to Oko. Leon, you again.
Oko Lorwin Leech for 2 generic blue is a Oko Planeswalker that comes in with 3 loyalty. For +2, you can up to 1 target creature gains all creature types. For +1, target creature gets -2/-0 until your next turn. And at the beginning of your first main phase, you can flip him for paying 1 green. And on the flip side, it has -1, mill 3 cards. You may put a permanent card from among them into your hand. For -3, create 2 3/3 green egg creature tokens. And for -6, choose a creature type. You get an emblem with creatures you control of the chosen type get +3/+3 and have vigilance and hexproof. Yeah, so I think most notably it's a 3 mana planeswalker, and that's so the play pattern with this one is probably most of the time you play it, plus it to protect it for 1 turn, and the next turn you pay the blue to make 2 elk creature tokens, and then you already got a lot of value out of it. For 6 power for 4 mana is quite good. and if you're able to flip it back, you can even get more value out of it. But yeah, I difficult for me to evaluate. What do you think about this one, Dom?
Yeah, a really complex card. So what it boils down to is the +2 like creature type thing is mostly irrelevant. The -2/-0 is stronger than you might think. I think it's the same for Jace Rin's Prodigy or Telepath Unbound, rather the backside, which does a decent job of protecting itself, especially if you like play this turn 2 or turn 3. And then if the Oko isn't answered and you can flip it and make 2 3/3s, I think that is a lot for 3 mana. So your opponent has to respect it. Biggest question always is where do you play this? Again, I like it in Polymorph just for the fact that it's like with Arjani, it does a lot of different things, but also furthers your strategy. But the -1 will 3 cards put a permanent is also awkward. I feel like if you could return any card, it would be probably too good, but this way it's really limited, mostly bringing back a land, especially in the early game, you get like a fetch land back. So it really boils down to how good is the 2 3/3s you make. And I like to believe that it's not good enough. Like for the total of 4 mana, you can just do better things in today's world.
Yeah,
Any
there's a lot
thoughts?
of trauma regarding Oko cards. I think this time we are a little bit more safe of him. So for me, like
we
playing,
however, we're not safe from his 8-pack.
yeah.
So that is making me very insecure.
So for me, like as a tribal player, maybe the +2 can be more relevant than for you. Like the emblem is really cool. So if you for some reason get to the emblem, it can be okay. Like the elves are obviously very good. 3 mana planeswalkers are oftentimes better than they might look, especially when they're green.
I think in a world of power creep where we got like 7/7/1/1 7/7 for 1 mana, or like 5/5s for 2 mana, or even bigger, the -2 does not do enough. Yeah, if your opponent plays
Honestly,
another Goif on turn 1 and you play your Oko turn 3, doesn't look so good. Yeah.
yeah, maybe you want to play it like in Sultai mid-range where the milling can be pretty strong. But then again, you need to have an idea what this card is supposed to do rather than being, hey, this card is cool, let's play it. And then you're like, oh, fuck, not really doing what I wanted to do. So one of those cards that really need to see gameplay testing. Other than that, yeah, that's Oko for you. Let's move on to the Omni Changeling, Benny.
Yeah, the Omni Changeling. So it's a 3 and blue. It's a 0/0 Changeling. But wait, it has Convoke. And you may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it has Changeling. So it's the first copy spell that, or like a creature copy spell that lets you copy creatures and getting like every creature type. So for tribal decks, this might be an option. It's rather a filler card, but I realize oftentimes when you are intrigued by creature tribal decks, sometimes you start your game, you curve out, but at some point the opponent plays like a Bargolf, a Psychic Frog, whatever, like a better creature than you. In this case, you are stopped anyway, and then you have the option to like convoke better, and then turn your like Bargolf, whatever, like turn this thing in one of them, and then your better creature then gets all the additional stuff from your lords or from your other synergies.
Unblockable Barrow Golf.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a filler, but I think it was worth talking about it because it's such a special kind of card.
Yeah, cool card. For me, Convoke is always a bit of a weird ability in the sense that decks that want to usually use their creatures to turn them sideways to attack will need to make a decision if they instead Convoke, which can be awkward in some spots. But that can also be a huge cheating on mana. Like you have a lot of merfolk that create tokens, for example. You go wide, and then with almost no lands needed, you can convoke this guy out. It's a lot of tempo that's possible. And yeah, it will create a lot of funny situations that you like after the match, you need to tell your friends, "Oh, dude, I made a Merfolk Barrow Golf, and that was unblockable with the guy double blue lord that makes your things unblockable or island walking." Uh, I mean, that is just a fun design, and I would really be stoked if this saw play for that reason alone. Leon, something to add?
No.
Of course, you can also hidden text. You can also copy your own creatures if you want to do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is what all good clones need to be able to do.
Yes.
Like affect both sides of the field. Yeah, Leon, thirst for identity. Go ahead.
Yeah, Thirst for Identity for 2 generic, a blue, instant. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card. So this one I think is really interesting for reanimator players because it does all you want. Fills up your hand, lets you find a reanimation spell, and yeah, and you anyway want to discard your creatures. So I'm not I've not played a lot of reanimator myself, but I think this one will see play.
Yeah. So our Reanimator player who basically won a lot of tournaments, they are currently playing the other Thirst where you discard a basic land. And this is definitely an upgrade to it. Yeah. For Reanimator it's good. Maybe with some flash decks it's possible, but yeah. Cool option.
Yeah, cool card. Nice to have. Nothing more to add than that. Which brings us to Sig, and that is yours, Benny.
So Sick Wonderwind Wisdom. It's a flip card. It's a legendary Merfolk Wizard. It's a 2/2. And Sick can't be blocked, like the front side is blue. It can't be blocked. When this creature enters or transforms into Sick Wonderwind Wisdom, target creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card until end of turn. And like all the other cards, it has a flip ability. So at the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay 1 white, like white. And if you do, transform Sick. And Sick transforms into a white 2/2. It's Sick Wonderwine, Sick Wonderbrine Shield. It also can't be blocked. When this creature transforms into Sick Wonderbrine Shield, target creature you control gains protection from each color until your next turn. And at the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay blue, and if you do, transform Sick. So, as we talked before about like blue, white Malfoy, there it's I think pretty premium. It's a legend. It can be bounced by characters, yes, but it also ETBs most likely maybe or most likely, but they will draw a card, and every second turn you can draw another card. The right side, the flip side, protects the creature until your next turn, which is pretty good. Yeah, in general, it's a solid 2-drop. So Merfolk always needs like cheap stuff, I think.
Okay, I want to add that this is incredible in Flying Men, or the blue tempo deck that we've seen with lots of evasive creatures. Let's just imagine, like, scratch the white part even. It's a 2-mana 2/2 can't be blocked. That's better than flying, right? It's like flying plus. And when it enters, it just gives a creature the the curiosity ability that it draws a card. And if you start with a 1-drop evasive creature and do this as a 2-drop, that's a lot of tempo you can create. So even outside of Merfolk, I think this thing has implications. Like, can't be blocked is also incredible in a world with the initiative and Monarch. And what about blue-white creature decks in general? I think the white sig protection from each color also basically means another thing is unblockable. So now all of a sudden you have 2 unblockable creatures, which is pretty cool. So if there's a blue-white creature-based deck that wants to attack, I can also see it there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just sharing my thoughts outside of the Merfolk sphere. This has implications. Like, you can play it, I think. Leon in the blue tempo deck or something similar?
So I think for blue-black or blue-red tempo, this is not good enough. And yeah, sadly, white isn't currently one of the colors you want in tempo, in my mind. But we will see. Maybe after a couple of sets, it will change again, and we get better white tempo cards. But for now, I don't see it in Grixis,
Yeah.
Dimir, or is it?
Yeah, one more thing. Obviously, it's good in mono blue aggro. So the flip side, the right thing gives protection from each color. So if you have a crypt in Jitter, for example, it will not fall off, which can be important.
Oh, yeah, but a curiosity would fall off, like an aura, right?
Yeah,
That is a bit awkward.
whatever.
Okay. Yeah, maybe in blue you play fetch lands, you can play 1 Tundra. Like, there will be spots where you want to flip this. But yeah, let's leave it to the Brewers to decide on that. Which brings us to our next card. It's the Silvergill Mentor, Benny.
Ooh, the Silvergill Mentor. It's 1 in the blue. It's a Merfolk Wizard. And it has the additional cost to cast a spell and behold a Merfolk. So behold, we never talked about it. Behold works to behold a Merfolk, choose a Merfolk you control, or reveal a Merfolk card from your hand. And then when this creature enters, create a 1/1 white and blue Merfolk token. So how does it work? You have a 2-mana 2/1. You can either check your board. If you have a Merfolk, you can just play it. Or if you have a Merfolk in your hand, you can reveal it. Or if you don't, like in the late game, maybe if your creatures all get killed, you can pay 4 and like make a 2, 1 and a 1/1. It's like what's it called? Dryness Elite. It's a Dryness Elite version of Merfolk. And Dryness Elite usually worked well with Lords. This will do that too. So Merfolk has a lot of Lords, especially on 2. And oftentimes I felt that with Merfolk, if the opponent has had a couple of removal, then the general mass of creatures, and like you were shot on that. And the Silvergill Mentor could help you like solving that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I have nothing to say. You covered it all. All right, then let's move on. And we have the Bitter Bloom Bearer, Black Mythic for Leon.
So, Bitter Bloom Bearer for black is a fairy rogue 1/1 with flash and flying, and it has at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 blue and black fairy creature token with flying. So, where I see this a part of fairies, obviously, is in blue black tempo and mono black aggro. Uh, Bitter Blossom on itself used to be a Highlander staple. I mean, that was like many years ago, but still, it is a very powerful effect, getting a 1/1 every turn. And the possibility of holding up your counter spells and then flashing this one in, and yeah, can be pretty powerful. So I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. Of course, the life loss can be a little problematic sometimes. That in a sense that you're getting low on life and you have to remove this yourself. But I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for tempo decks, it can be a little bit too hard to cast since it's black in the mana cost. So it's rather than not a 2-drop, but 3 or 4-drop. I assume because like oftentimes you want to keep your blue mana open at the second turn. So it could help like black aggro decks, so maybe Rakdos, mono black aggro, of course. It could also help token strategies if you have a black token deck or maybe aristocrats. And like Bitter Blossom, you can technically die of it, like of the life loss. But like it's a pro and a con because like Bitter Blossom was hard to kill, but sometimes you just died by having it, and this time it will automatically die, I feel. So maybe it will spawn like a couple of tokens and then we will die. And if you overwhelm the opponent with card advantage, then you can like kill it yourself. So
Yeah, I think this is much better than Bitter Blossom for a lot of decks, just because Bitter Blossom is only really good in the early turns where you make the most of it, and you can stomach the tempo loss of playing an enchantment and then waiting for the effect. This one brings its own body. Flash obviously is an amazing ability, like you explained. What I also like about this, rather than Bitter Blossom, is if you need to kill this yourself, like the old Dark Confidant, kill your own creature, feels bad moment, like you can do that much more easily than a Bitter Blossom, which is an enchantment. So the chances of dying to this effect yourself is much lower if you're a black deck, you have all the means necessary to kill this if you need to.
also your fairy decks likes it. Your fairy is for fairies. It's like
Yeah.
maybe the best fairy ever.
Yeah, it's completely pushing fairies into a deck at this point.
Can we please all agree
Also
on
the
calling this one Magus of the Bitter Blossom?
Also, with fairy
Yeah.
lords, with fairy lords, it's really strong. Like imagine like spawning like 3 or 4 fairies, and then putting in a fairy lord. There are a couple of them, and then just kill them.
Boom. And what is that enchantment that turns all the lands into swarms?
Warborg.
Contagion is no.
Contagion.
You
Yeah.
sacrifice the
Enchantment.
creature
I think it's contagion.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Contagion is the pitch black spell that does -2/-1 counters.
And there's even another form of
and-
contagion. There's like 2 contagions.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, there's this enchantment that says all lands only produce black, but you have to sacrifice a creature in your upkeep or you lose the enchantment. Amazing effect, always had density issues, and this is another card that creates a body for you to sacrifice every turn. So that might be a scary option mono black can do.
Yeah.
No, much better. All right, then let's move on to the Boggart Mischief. I'm taking this one. It's a 3-mana enchantment for a single black and 2 generic. It's Kindred, so it's a goblin card. Can be found by Goblin Matron and all that. And when it enters, you may blight one. And this is, I think, the first time we're talking about blight. So blight N means you put N -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. It has to be a single creature. If you have blight 2, you can't separate it on your creatures. It has to be one. Anyway, in this case, if you pay that cost, then you get 2/1/1 black and red goblin creature tokens. And whenever a goblin creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Now, I love this card because it enables a new strategy along with other cards in this set. Goblinocrats. Now, there are already a lot of goblins that reward you for your goblins dying. And I'm sorry I'm bad with goblin names. If you can help me out, Benny, then please do. But there's this 3-drop that says whenever a goblin dies, you ping something, which is called.
It's a 4-drop. It's a 4-drop, but it spawns like
No,
two
the
1/1s, and
legend,
then
the
you can.
red legend.
Uh,
The red legend.
It was from Modern
whenever
Masters, I
goblin.
think.
yeah, I can't remember. I stopped playing it, but
Sorry.
there's like one of them.
Anyway, yeah, and the 4-drop that also acts like a drainer and creates 2 goblins.
Yeah.
And I imagine a world where you tune your goblin deck to have this turn where you have a bunch of goblins, you have a drainer or 2, and maybe a sack outlet, something, and just win on the spot. But you don't always need a sack outlet. If you have like 1/1 goblins to attack with, like a lot of them, your opponent, that basically makes them unblockable in the sense that your opponent, even if they block your little goblins, they always get a damage. So this is why this is really a nice option to have for goblins.
Yeah.
Benny, anything to add?
Yeah, goblins are known for having a lot of creatures, but they're all very small. So sometimes you get into the boss states where you have like 6 1/1s and you can just attack. And like with cards like the 3-mana legend that you described, they can be killed, but enchantments are very, very hard to kill. So like goblin aristocrats can be possible. I mean, goblins already a little bit like that, but you can like focus a little bit more on that, or can create like a more like focused aristocrat version of it. Also, look at the goblin in the artwork. It's a boar. So I don't know what's going on with the goblins there, but apparently they can be boars. Also the token, the goblin token in the set looks also like a boar. So
Yeah, so my headcanon is that goblins kind of wear these as hats of the creatures they kill, like a trophy, you know?
yeah,
I have no idea about the
can
lore.
be
I'm
like in
really,
Minecraft.
lore-wise, I'm a bit like in Minecraft, yeah. Okay, Blight 1, I mean, the cost is real, but like you mentioned, Benny, you already have so many little goblin shitters on the field that it might not be that big a deal, but I think this enchantment can also be brutal even if you don't play the Blight one.
Yeah,
But for the value, I think you will want to do that normally.
yeah. But it can also be found by the matron, as you said, but also the ringleader and the black matron, which puts it on top,
Oh, yeah.
like the goblin harbinger.
Yeah, right.
You can also find
Yeah.
that.
There's a lot of goblin tutoring. That is a big deal in this card as well.
Also,
Yeah.
what's it called? The recruiter. So the recruiter can put it on top too. So if you want to play
Right.
goblins, recruiter is like the best card, maybe.
And the Snoop, the
Snoop-
Snoop can play it from the top.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure it
Okay.
says goblin or goblin spell. Yeah, goblin creature or goblin spell.
But type goblin is, I think, the best kindred subtype,
Yeah,
maybe.
kind of.
But that is a different discussion. Leon, any thoughts?
No.
Okay. Then my next card is Champion of the Weird. another goblin. It's a 4-mana 5/5 goblin berserker for 3 generic and a black. And has additional cost to cast this spell, behold a goblin and exile it. So the Merfolk just cared about you showing something. This like outright needs this sacrifice basically. So you exile a goblin you already control or from your hand, and as an additional cost to cast this guy. So you pay 1 life. It has an activate ability. Pay 1 life, blight 2, and target opponent blights 2. Activate only as a sorcery. And when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to its owner's hand. Now this is nice, obviously. Like if you behold a goblin from the battlefield with an ETB, for example, like a goblin recruiter or the matron, then this is like an added bonus. But you cast this guy, you pay the behold cost. If he gets countered, you don't get your sacrifice back. So be aware of that. Now, why this card is interesting to me is the activate ability. So what this reads to me is pay 1 life, blight 2, and basically swing the board heavily in your favor, and especially if you are on the Goblinocrats plan. The pay 1 life isn't a big deal if you already gain life by creatures dying. So imagine a world where this enchantment is on the battlefield and you follow up with a champion. Your opponent is in a world of hurt. And like I said earlier, the sacrifice outlet often means on these boards that you can outright kill your opponent with the combat and the sacrificing combined. So I think this is a super exciting card for goblins to try out. Time will tell if it's good enough. I mean, the blight 2 means then it itself on the board can blight 2 himself 2 times before he dies. And that can already kill a lot of your opponent's board. To blight 2 times is not, it's nothing to scoff at. So yeah, I really love the direction they took with goblins in this set. Benny, your thoughts?
It's really chunky. So as a goblin,
Yeah.
like being, I think this is even bigger than Muxus. I think this is the biggest goblin ever. And like goblins are easily outclassed by size. And this might be like one of your strongest power-wise cards. Also imagine like beholding Muxus, and then this dies, and then Muxus returns, and you get like all the creatures, like a Muxus trigger back, and like all the stuff back. It's like Magic Wonderland, like Christmas Wonderland, whatever. Also, look at the art. Like this goblin has 2 bee nests. It has 2 bee nests and is throwing them at you. So I don't
What
want
a
to fight
dick.
against this guy.
No, so I think the beehives spawn bees that then blight your creatures. Like amazing flavor. Leon, how do you rate this card?
So yeah, it's probably something that the goblin archetype needed in sense of a way to impact the opponent's board, and also to have like another big finisher, a part of Muxus. Maybe something that will help goblins, because I think goblins has been struggling in the past with big creatures like Barugorf or Murktide.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're in a Dom block. So the next one is also mine. It's the Dawn Hand Dissident. For a single black, you get a 1/2 elf warlock. It has 2 activated abilities. The first is tap blight 1, you surveil 1. The second being tap blight 2, exile target card from a graveyard. And during your turn, you can cast creature spells from among cards you own exiled with this creature by removing 3 counters from among creatures you control, in addition to paying the other costs. Now, why do I want to talk about this? I think this slots into aristocrats because of the pseudo sec engine this creates by itself with the blight 1, surveil 1. This can kill your smaller creatures that leave behind a token, trigger your drain effects. And surveil 1 is also not nothing. You can surveil your creatures into the graveyard that you can bring back later with living death, For example, already the Ancestors. And this card does a lot for 1 mana, actually. Like Blight 2, basically the same, but you can kill more. You can kill 2 creatures and trigger twice the things you want to trigger. Exiling a target card from a graveyard is incredible in a world where Reanimator is easily top top of the meta, but also can really annoy the shit out of other decks that want to use their graveyard as a resource. And then I think the static ability will not come up too often. Removing 3 counters from creatures implies that they have also survived the blighting, which isn't likely, but it will come up every now and then. Not too often, but this card would already be Aristocrats playable without the static. So this is just like a nice addition. Leon, your thoughts? Maybe something for other decks?
So yeah, first to note, especially for 1-drop, like you said already, cards with so much text, you have to keep an eye out on. I've sadly not faced a whole lot of aristocrat decks in our Berlin meta, but I hope that changes. Maybe I'm gonna pick the deck up myself to try it out.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, it's quite fun.
a 1-drop with it's a 1/2 and has a lot of text. Maybe it will be relevant. So obviously you have to blight a lot. So it works well with bigger creatures. So elves is not known for having them, but maybe if you play like a counter stack or like a green black deck with bigger stuff, it can be an option if you face a lot of like maybe Reanimator, or if you just want some generic value 1-drop. Yeah. And it doesn't die to Bowmasters or Venetics.
Yeah.
That's at least an upside.
That's always welcome. Yep. Okay, another one of mine is Grave Venerations. It's an enchantment for 3 generic and a single black. It reads, when this enters, you become the monarch. And in your end step, if you're the monarch, you can return up to 1 target creature card from the graveyard to your hand. And then it has the drain ability. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Another aristocrats include that you might want to look at. Aristocrats is really, really good at defending monarchy and initiative because it creates so much board chunk on the floor and in the sky. We've had obviously a lot of enchantments by now that create the monarchy, like the courts. Those don't really see play because they also had the issues that they were bad at protecting themselves. You can't just slam it onto a board state where like the battlefield is uneven in not in your favor. This one, however, if you curve your like little idiots and aristocrats into this enchantment, it will do a lot of work. Why I like this though the best is it's a drainer. This blood artist effect is obviously something you really need in aristocrats, and this stapled onto a card generation, card value advantage engine is really great. So I would definitely try it out. Noted though, in aristocrats, you really, really need to think about which non-land cards you include that aren't creatures, because you're so reliant on creature density. You need to create white board states. So anything you play that isn't a creature or land really, really needs to be a great inclusion. Yeah, excited to try this out in Aristocrats. Anything to add, boys?
Yeah, so I have mixed feelings on this one. On the one side, it provides a lot of value. I mean, you immediately get the card from the monarchy and something back from your graveyard, but at the same time, we learned from the cards that spending 4 mana and to draw a card or 2 cards is such a huge setback in tempo that it becomes really hard to dominate the board afterwards. So that's just my take on it.
Nothing for me.
Okay. Then, Benny, we have Grub.
Yeah, so there's another of these flip cards. So it's a black-red card. It's called Grub Storied Matriarch on the front side. It's a 2 and a black 2/1 Goblin Warlock token with Menace. When this creature enters or transforms into Grub Storied Matriarch, return up to one target Goblin card from your graveyard to your hand. And you can flip it. So at the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay red, and if you do transform it, it transforms into Grub Notorious Auntie. It's a 2/1 with Menace Goblin Warrior. And whenever Grub attacks, you may Blight one. And if you do, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of the blighted creature, except it has at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice it. And then you can flip it back for 1 blue during your main phase.
One black.
So for goblins, it's a tool. Recently, I found out in the world of Barrogoyf or Psychic Frog, playing all these Rebel Master 3-drops, which create 1/1s attacking. They're not the best against like big life leaking creatures. So maybe you want some guy who can create a lot of value. Being a 2/1 is obviously not the greatest, so it dies to Bowmasters, Bargoyf, like even Dark Blast or whatever. It's a black card, so maybe it doesn't slot into all Goblin decks. If you want to play like mono red, it's not possible, but if you up your count on black, it's decent. So you can draw a card every second turn. And on the flip side, blighting a creature and creating a token can be very strong because goblins have good ETB triggers, but they are rather small. So blighting a creature can kill them. But maybe the best creatures that you want to copy are tutus or bigger. Also, like copying like Rebel Master tokens is not the best. But in general, it's a tool. It's a tool for goblins.
Yeah, for me, it comes down to the question, how good is a 3-mana 2/1 that raises dead a goblin from your graveyard? I think it's not good enough because if you curve into this, your graveyard's empty, you're like already missing out on a lot of board tempo. Like, for example, if you would much rather play any other goblin 3-drop than. And yeah, like you said, 1 toughness is really a downside in today's environment. But if this sticks, it's a it's a self-feeding engine. So maybe in a slower meta game, this is pretty great. But I figure this wouldn't make the 100 if I had to guess. Leon,
Yeah.
anything to add?
No.
Yeah, against combo you often
Oh.
have to raise, but against like grindier mid-range strategies, it can help you, but it's not a 3-drop there, so maybe rather 4 or 5-drop.
Yeah, and the red grub needs to attack as a 2/1, even with menace that just like will die quickly against any blockers your opponent might have.
Goblin die.
Um,
Goblins
so
die all the time, yeah, but
yeah, good point. Yeah, they're made to die. Yeah. Triggers a lot of stuff now too. All right. Moving on to the Iron Shield Elf. This is mine. It's a 2-mana 3/1 elf warrior for a black and a generic. And it has the ability to discard a card, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. You need to tap it. Great card. We have seen cards like this already in white, like Guardian of New Benalia and the 3/1. That is literally the same card, just in white. These effects are amazing in converter decks. triggering your currency converter or discarding for value, like discarding your Unjust Ravager to madness it out, discarding your Croxer. Even for reanimating strategies, it's amazing to just be able to have a 3/1 threat that blocks really well and then enables you to discard a big creature to reanimate later. It gives black non-white decks an ability that I was really waiting for, and I will definitely play this in Rakdos converter that I've played in an event very successfully last year. And I think also in Elves, just to have a creature that sticks around. Discarding a card in Elves is often a downside because you empty your hand really quickly, but still in a more aggressive Golgari Elves deck, I certainly see this slotting in. Leon, what's your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think it's just a really nice tool to have, like you already said, for more niche strategies like Converter Red, or maybe even some dredge decks or some other reanimator builds that are not blue black, like maybe Rectors or something else.
Yeah, be careful. This elf fights you with a leaf on a stick. So
Okay. I guess the 3 power comes from the shield. I don't really get it. Maybe it's like Canadian.
he's a good
It's
fighter.
defending Canada with
He's a good fighter.
defending Canada with. Okay, let's keep it at that. Benny, you play this in Madness, John Madness?
Ah, yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget that deck. That can really be a scary one, and
It
I would
can.
like to see you play it more.
Can be good.
Okay, moving on to Moon Shadow. I'm taking this one. It's a 1-drop mythic for 1 black. You get a 7/7 elemental with menace. Creature enters with 6 -1/-1 counters on it, but whenever 1 or more permanent cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, while this creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove 1 of them. Incredible pushed 1-drop for black tempo strategies. I talked to Max a bit, like our bona fide Grixis tempo specialist, and he's really excited for this card. So this static ability is triggered, or sorry, this triggered ability is triggered more often than you might think. One obvious comparison is the Stalactite Stalker that triggers in your end step when a permanent left your graveyard or went into your graveyard. But this can trigger multiple times in a turn. So let's imagine turn 1, you play this, turn 2, you play a fetch land. You fetch. This grows to a 2/2 menace. You maybe don't need the extra mana, you get a survey land. You can, if you're a bit lucky, you can mill another land, for example. This grows again. In Christmas Wonderland, you also play a bauble, grow this again, or Thought Scour yourself, Mental Note yourself, grow this. And all of a sudden, it's like a 3/3/4/4 menace beater in the first 3 turns. That is an incredible stat line, and it's even like it's gonna grow again after that with anything basically that happens in gameplay. You are like you removing your opponent's creature. No, sorry, that doesn't work. But the fact that this triggers off so many things makes this a really strong inclusion in black aggro or tempo. Mono black aggro, I'm not too sure about. I wished I talked to our mono black Dark Lord about it, but I also think you can play it there if you have a lot of churning through deck, board, and graveyard. Like this is also great with the Gravecrawler that dies and comes back. So many things trigger this thing, play it, and beat your opponent to death, and it's hard to block. I'm
Yeah.
getting ahead of myself, Leon. Leon, anything to add?
You pretty much said it all. Also, like cycling a troll or an elephant grows
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and maybe we will even start to play the creature, the 3/4 with Swamp Walk, that
Oh,
cycles itself for paying to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing card, amazing. It's pushed, it's powerful. Nothing more to add. And
Yeah, the black aggro players are licking their fingers for that. Also, it's a 1-drop, so you can find it with the white creature tutors, which search for 1-drops. Also, it's an elemental, so elemental travel is really underexplored and maybe it's not worth it, but having cheap elementals for curse reasons is likely it's good to be seen. It's a good thing for that. Yeah.
Yeah, one last note. Max also had the point that if you manifest this with an Oculus, then for single black you get a 7/7.
Yeah.
Magical Christmas land, but
Or
I
with
think
dress
that
down.
would be funny.
Dressed up.
Oh shit, dressed on. Guys, like this card,
Or
yeah,
stifle
just play
the
it.
first trigger when it comes into play. On turn 2, 1 black, 1 blue, bam, 7/7 with menace.
This is not a trigger.
Okay.
It enters with.
Okay, never mind.
That doesn't work. But dress down works nicely here. All right, Moon Shadow, definitely one of the top cards in the set. Let's move on to Mud Button Curse Tosser, Benny.
Mud Button Curse Tosser. It's a 2/1 for black. And it has the additional cost. It's also a Goblin Warlock, I have to add. There's an additional cost to cast the spell Behold a Goblin or pay 2. And this creature can't block. And when this creature dies, destroy target creature with an opponent controls with power 2 or less. Okay, when this came out, I read it wrong, and I was super excited because I thought, oh man, okay, you play it, and then you destroy immediately the Psychic Frog, because I did not read that it's not an ETB trigger. I also did not read that it only counts the power. So it's less good than I initially thought, but it's for goblins. If you are more black focused, it's a good 2-drop. So for tribal decks, one of the most necessary things for you is to curve out. So having a 1-mana 2/1, which can curve out, like which you can play on the first turn, is good. It cannot block, but it's often the case on the black 1-drops. So it would play maybe like an unblockable creature for some turns, and if the opponent doesn't have anything to kill, maybe he will block at some point. For non-goblin decks, it's not playable. But it's a good tool. It's like all of these. There's a cycle of these 1-mana Behold creatures, and they're, except the elemental ones, all playable, I think. I mean, the elemental one can also be playable, but I think, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, one final note. If your opponent is scared of this dying, they might just block with the only creature this can target anyway. So I think this die trigger, it will come up, but it can be played around. And yeah, I also think you only want this if you're interested in like a lot of density in the 1-drop slot.
Yeah.
Leon, thoughts?
That's it.
All right, which brings us to Requiting Hex. I take this. It's a 1-mana instant for single black. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 1. And then destroy target creature with mana value 2 or less. So this time it's not power, it's the better one. If this spell's additional cost was paid, you gain 2 life. So I think the blight cost will be like a more rare occurrence. For me, this is one of the options you have in the 1-drop removal suite. The question for me is this better than, for example, Blood Chief's Thirst? I would think no, because the meta has shifted in a way where a lot of haymakers are just like more expensive than mana value 2, except for Psychic Frog. But a lot of the creatures that win you the game are like, yeah, Oculus, Murktide, Barrogoyf, whatnot. So Blood Chief's Thirst can kill that. It can also kill Planeswalkers. So for me, the only question is this worth an inclusion because it's an instant? And again, I think no. I think versatility is in Highlander is so much more important than the reactiveness, especially for 1 mana spells. 1 mana is just not a huge commitment in your own turn. So at 1 mana, the difference between instant and sorcery is not as big as for 2 drops. When we talk about 2 mana cards, flash or instant makes it much, much better. Whereas for 1 mana, it just is a nice bonus. But I guess this ultimately falls off the list, but we need to talk about it because it's still a good removal spell. Leon, any thoughts here?
Yeah, you pretty much already said it all. It's a nice another tool to have, especially as the 1 and 2 drops get stronger by every set. It feels like it. To have more cheap removal to kill a Bowmaster or a Psychic Frog. Nice to have. Probably won't see any play, but maybe in the near future. Who knows?
Yeah, I think for mono black control, it's good because since you're more like a more expensive deck, you oftentimes needed like the 1 mana removal for the elf or the Ragavan or whatever. So in this deck, I could see it. It depends on the deck. Some decks need more flexibility removal. Some decks need more like cheap removal. It depends like what you want. And like it killing Psychic Frog is obviously really good. Then, that's very necessary. Psychic Frog needs to die.
Yeah, no, obviously there's also a lot of 1 and 2 drops you need to kill. But still, you need to be able to kill everything. And I think that's the baseline for a playable removal spell these days, if you're not like Lightning Bolt or something. Okay, moving on to the Taster of Wares, Benny.
The Taster of Wares. It's 2 and a black, 3/2 Goblin Warlock. And when this creature enters, target opponent reveals X cards from the hands, where X is the number of goblins you control. You choose one of those cards, and that player exiles it. If an instant or sorcery card is exiled this way, you may cast it for as long as you control this creature. And mana of any type can be spent to cast the spell. So, as I said before, like in a world where black is the best color, or like in my opinion the best color, and you need to like be aware that Biogolf is a thing, Pyrogolf is a thing, Psychic Frog is a thing. So as a aggressive tribe, which goblins was, maybe you need to like slow down on the Rebel Master effects a little bit. Maybe you need to be a little bit more controlling, a little bit more atrocious. And this creature can help you with that. So you look at the opponent's hand, which is oftentimes a really good thing on these ETB cards. So just looking at the opponent's card, you can at the opponent's hand, you can play around like some removals, some counter spells, maybe. Maybe you do that with a Kevin even. And then also exiling the cards really strong. So if the opponent's on Snapcaster or whatever, it's a benefit. And also then be able to cast the card that you exiled strong. So 3/2 for Goblin, it's pretty good. Like with a Lord, it's easily a 4/3. Yeah, if you play black in your Goblin deck, it's a good tool. And I will try it out soon, I think.
I actually think this is one of the best goblins in the set. So what will happen if you play this? And let's say you have 3 goblins. It's the blackmail effect where your opponent has to choose 3 cards that they are fine with getting rid of. But this exile ability and be able, like this Gaunty effect, to be able to cast it later, really makes it tough to make that decision. So let's say you're up against goblins and you have a hand with blockers, lands, and one instant sorcery that you don't care too much about. Like against goblins, you need the land to develop your blockers and your board to not die. So now what do? Do you show them your, like, I don't know, do you show them your cantrip or removal spell and give them extra value? That is already very strong on top of everything that Benny said. And
Yeah.
even the floor of this to just have this on the board and your opponent has to exile a card from his or her hand, that is already pretty good. It's already a 2-for-1 with a nice body. So, yeah, I think it's even better than Benny's estimation. But not being the goblin expert, I also trust his judgment. But I was really excited when I read this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also forgot you don't look at the opponent's whole hand, you look at the like some cards. But like imagine putting a one drop and then a 2-drop, which maybe spawns 2/1/1s, and then playing these on 3 and looking at 3 cards. It's a good curve. Yeah.
Mhm. Leon,
Yeah.
anything to add?
Solid card, like you said it. 2-for-1 is already pretty solid on its own, and with more goblins it gets even better.
Right. And you take the Twilight Diviner, Leon.
So Twilight Diviner for 2 generic and a black, it's a 3/3 elf cleric. When this creature enters Surveil 2, whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if they entered or were cast from a graveyard, create a token that's a copy of one of them. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this is a really interesting card with high potential. I'm not really sure yet where it fits in, but I can see it in some kind of dredge decks. Usually, reanimator players don't really want that, I think, because reanimating an Atraxa or an Archon is already enough. You don't need 2 of them. But the effect on its own is already really interesting and rewards building around it. So there can be really nasty play patterns with it, with high, with high upside.
Yeah. So for mono black, it's good because like all the 1-drops or even 2-drops come back into play, and then
Yeah.
like having a Panharmonicum for this kind of effect on a 3-mana 3/3 creature seems funny. Also, you can surveil your 1-drops first into graveyard, and the 1-drops get stronger with every sets now, like the recursive 1-drops.
Yeah. Yeah, that, like, Bloodghast, any escape creatures, madness creatures. Like, this card has a lot of implications.
Oh, the new one
The
with
floor
Roar.
of being a 3. Yeah, right. And the floor of this being a 3/3 that fixes your draw step is also not too bad. And I think this is one of those cases where your opponent has to respect this ability, even if you haven't enabled it yet. So, yeah, excited to play with this. Which brings us to the Goliath Daydreamer, Benny.
So yeah, I put
He's
it in.
dreaming.
I put it in. So the Goliath Daydreamer is 2 and 2 red. So 2 and red giant wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, exile that card with a dream counter on it instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. And when this creature attacks, you may cast a spell from among the cards you own in exile with dream counters on them without paying its mana cost. So it's kind of a Dreaded Arcanist, but it's more chunky. It's a 4-mana 4/4. In this set, a lot of 4-mana 4/4 got designed, and if you play maybe big red or medium red, having a 4-mana 4/4 that you cheated out maybe on turn 2 or on turn 3, even without haste, can be pretty nasty and hard to remove. And then copying one of your burn spells can be good. The wizard type doesn't mean anything, but yeah, it's an okay card.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun design. Note that the first card you exile, you can repeatedly play, whereas Dreadout Arcanist can only cast your Lightning Bolt once. This can recast your Lightning Bolt every time, and the more you play instants and sorceries, the more your Dream Stash uh, is um, is increased. But yeah, so I don't think it's playable. It asks you too many questions. You need to be able to play it, then play an instant sorcery while this is alive, and then have it alive to swing, and then have a good application for that instant or sorcery. But yeah, maybe in medium red. I mean, it's funny. It needs to be killed. That's always a good baseline. But for me, it's one of the more niche cards in the set. Leon, what do you think?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. The Hexing Squelcher, though, hot for Leon.
Yeah, Hexing Scratcher for 1 generic, 1 red. It's a 2/2 goblin sorcerer. This spell can't be countered. Ward, pay 2 life. Spells you control can't be countered. Other creatures you control have ward, pay 2 life. Yeah, so this is obviously a really pushed 2-drop. It reminds me a little bit of the Spider-Punk. Making your stuff uncountable is already really good, and the ward is also nice to have. I think usually it will play like it has pseudo haste in the sense of you cast it on turn 2, it gets removed and deals the 2 damage. Yeah, aggressive 2-drop that will fit into maybe Rakdos, obviously goblins, and of course mono red. I think it will be a staple.
Yeah, for goblins, it's an awesome tool. Like having 4/1/1s and the opponent has their fury in hand. Oh, this sounds nasty. Also, it's a sorcerer. I don't know if there had been any sorcerers
Why is it not a
before.
wizard?
I don't
Like,
know.
what does
I
a
don't know.
sorcerer do that a wizard doesn't?
It's an awesome card. It will kill a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I just want to note, I think this is like a mix of Spider-Punk and Eidolon of the Great Revel, in the sense that this always has this inbuilt, almost guaranteed damage, like the Eidolon, but making your stuff uncounterable is, yeah, obviously incredible. So, yeah, play it when you are interested in killing your opponent as quickly as possible. Which brings us to the impolite entrance, Benny.
Yeah. Impolite entrance. Red sorcery. Target creature gains trample and haste at the end of turn. Draw a card. So this is a red cantrip. So if you play blitz decks or power stacks, and if you are not in blue, this is an option. Like this is the first of these cantrips which give, I think I think it's the first one which give 2 keywords. So trample and
Yes.
haste. Trample is really good with these growing powers or like miracle growth creatures, and haste is, it can surprise people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best card of this kind that we've seen. Leon, you play Dreadhorde Arcanist, and then this on the Arcanist, then you're good to go, right?
Yeah, it's another nice option to have. Like you for archetypes like heroic.
Oh yeah,
You need
David Brewing
a
that.
certain number of spells that does the same thing at the same time, like similar to the blink spell we saw before. And it's always nice to have more of these options to make these archetypes more playable.
And it's 1 mana.
Yep.
1 mana is key.
Yeah, it's like low cost, high efficiency, which is always great in Highlander. Lava Leaper, Benny.
Lava Leaper. It's
Leon. Sorry, it's Leon's card.
Lava Leaper
It's Leon's
for
card.
3 generic, 1 red. It's a 4/4 elemental. All creatures have haste. Whenever a player taps a basic land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of any type that land produces. So usually effects that also benefit your opponents are always kind of scary. Like, for example, giving your opponents Murktide haste suddenly can feel really bad. But yeah, the haste is always for both players. But what's interesting about this card is that it says basic land. So where I see it is like maybe in medium red, where you have a lot of mountains and your opponent does not have a lot of basic lands, so it can really quickly boost your mana. But at the same time, you're also playing stuff like City of Traitors and Ancient Tomb. Yeah, but it can swing immediately because it gives itself haste. So that's already nice.
Yeah. Like in medium red it's good, in big red it's good. It's 4 mana 4/4. Again, it's like kind of a red questing beast. Like I don't know. We know the feelings. You're feeling kind of safe. You're curving out, and the opponent's like, boom, questing beast, attack.
Bam.
And it will feel like this, but sometimes even way worse.
Yeah. First of all, like I would be really scared if this elk frog came leaping at me. Like, look at it, Jesus Christ! I want this stitched on a leather jacket and just be in a bike gang and be like, yeah, we're the Lava Leapers.
Pardon, it's elk frog rabbit.
Oh,
Amazing artwork.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're a biologist, right? Yeah, anyway, cool card. Can't wait to try it out in medium red. There's obviously a lot of you already play a lot of creatures that do something when they attack. Recently I've been toying with this fire bending ascension and stuff like that really reward you for attack triggers. So it slots so nicely into that build. Yeah,
Also-
exciting card.
Also, not to confuse the listeners, I'm not sure if I said it. It's not an elk frog, whatever. It's an elemental. So, okay.
Yeah, maybe in the comments you can clear this up for us.
Yeah.
All right, leaping onto the Scuzzback Scrounger. I'm taking this one. It's a 2-drop 3/2 for 1 in a generic and a red. It's a Goblin Warrior, and it says at the beginning of your first main phase, you may blight 1. If you do, create a treasure token. Great medium red card for the simple fact that it jumps you ahead in mana, but only if you want to. Like a 2 mana 3/2 is a great beater that your opponent has to respect. And then if you're on tap with this, turn 3, you make a treasure, you can play, you can consistently play your 4-drop. It's pretty great. 4 mana slot in medium red is mostly your game winners. And whatever enables you to play these 1 turn early needs to be considered. Like in medium red, I even played the 2-drops that leave behind a treasure token when they die, and they were usually good. Treasure tokens are incredibly good tokens to make. And then, yeah, you don't have to do it. Let's say you have your City of Traitors or Ancient Tomb already, then you don't have to. But blighting 1, making this itself a 2/1 is fine. And then it still says to your opponent, kill me, or I might do even more value with whatever I play next. So yeah, I'm excited for this. The question for me is that I can't answer, is this good in Goblins, Benny?
It's an excellent card. So 2 mana 3/2 is awesome. I read the flavor text. The only metal polish he uses is blood. So there you go. Also,
That's
he's
metal.
one of these boar goblins, and there you can see better. He has the boar feet and also the boar head. So I'm not I'm not thinking he's using another head.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking
Yeah, I
he's
think it's like a chimera.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good
So,
card.
Leon, I was thinking, do you want this in RDW maybe even?
So yeah, maybe. I'm not sure because actually I've not
Yeah.
played the deck a lot in the past because it fell off pretty hard due to the more creatures having lifelink nowadays. I feel like, but the question I ask myself is, I feel like Blight is similar to Convoke in a sense of you want a lot of creatures for these abilities, but at the same time, decks that want a wide board also don't really want to tap their creatures or shrink their creatures. So it contradicts the playstyle of your deck, I feel like.
Maybe it's something for
Yeah, that's a good
these
point.
maybe it's something for these aristocrats decks. So Blight can work well with these 1-drops. And maybe
point.
you want to increase your quality card count in aristocrats generally. So maybe it's a tool for that. For goblins,
Yeah, good point.
it's okay, I think. I mean, it can ramp you into Muxus or Ringleader or
Yeah, I
other
wanted to
cards.
say anything that runs into
Other
Muxus
cards
is
that
a
we
great
will
choice.
talk about later, maybe.
Yeah. Moving on to the Bristlebane Battler, Benny.
Okay,
was
the Bristlebane Battler, it's 1 in the green, trample, War 2, and this creature, it's a 6/6, and this creature enters with 5 -1/-1 counters. And whenever another creature you control enters, while this creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove a -1/-1 counter from the creature. So, it being a Kiskin, as we said before, it's not really relevant, but it's a green 2-drop. So maybe for green aggressive decks or green token decks, it's good because like it counts the creatures entering. So creating 2/1/1s removes 2 counters. The ward ability is, as we all know, pretty frustrating to play against. Trample for Stompy is good. It's a good card.
Yeah, for me, the obvious comparison is Evolve cards. There are some good Evolve cards, like this is similar, but doesn't require you to play something bigger, just a creature. Like you said, it can be a token. And I imagine in mono green aggro and the Celestia, this can be a really good 2-drop. It's a nice option in those decks that also want aggressive density in the 2-drop slot. Obviously, there's other styles of Celestia that more focus on 3-drops because of the mana dogs. But hey, this also rewards you for drawing your mana dogs late when that is mostly sort of irrelevant. It can still do stuff. So I imagine it's gonna be tried.
Yeah.
And yeah, War 2 is incredible. That without the War 2, we wouldn't even consider this. Leon, any thoughts?
No, nothing more to add.
All right, speeding along. Celestial Reunion, Benny.
Okay, Celestial Reunion is an X and a green sorcery. And as an additional cost to cast the spell, you may choose a creature type and behold 2 creatures of that type. So, remembering, beholding is you're checking the creatures in hand or the creatures on the battlefield. So, I also have to keep reading the cards. Search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, reveal it and put it into your hand. Then shuffle. If this if the spell's additional cost was paid, and the revealed card is chosen type, put that card on the battlefield instead of putting it into your hand. So, as I said before, remembering beholding, you're checking the creatures in your hand and on the battlefield. This also means you can have like one of the chosen creature types in hand and the other one on the battlefield. And then it acts like a green sun zenith, but you can search non-green creatures. And for green tribal decks, it's a really good tool, I think. Like having these X green tutor spells which tutor into play. They're always stronger than they seem, I think. And nothing more to add here.
Yeah, great tribal card. Not playable for me if you're not high density and tribal. But yeah, that's exactly the cards that support underrepresented deck types, and that's what I like.
Yeah,
Leon?
I think where it will be a staple is obviously in elves, and that's where it shines the most. If you're not able to trigger like if you behold two creatures of the type, it's pretty much unplayable. Yeah, but also cheating a non-green card into play can be pretty powerful.
It can be an upset if you have cast triggers. So if you, for example, play it in Eldrazi and you search out the Eldrazi and then get it into hand and playing it with a cast trigger, it's technically an upset.
That's a good point, and you have a lot of mana generation in that deck.
Yeah.
So paying like 5 to get your sowing micro spawn is not like the end of the world, I guess. Okay, yeah, let's move on to the formidable speaker. That's mine. It's a 3 mana 2/4 for 2 generic and a green. It's an elf druid, and it reads: when this creature enters, you may discard a card. If you do such a library for creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. And for 1 and tap, you can untap another target permanent. This is the World Championship card. It's Jean-Emmanuel Deprat. And it's an instant staple. I think this card is incredible. It slots right into any green creature-based combo deck immediately. Like Lorwyn will play this, Pattern Rector will play this, the pod decks will play this. Just by itself, right? Just the ETB is so strong. You play a 2 mana 2/2 called Fauna Shaman that requires you to untap with it, pay green, tap, and discard a creature card to do this effect. And you get this on a 2/4 body with the relevant creature type. And you can discard any card. So you can discard your access land, you can discard a removal spell against control, and it will do your thing. And that is incredible. I will not go through all the combo applications. You just play this card in your creature deck, and you will like it. So the untap ability is also not to be underestimated. You can untap your Cradle, you can untap your Soul Land to get another mana, you can untap any creature that has an activate ability, like Knight of the Reliquary. You can untap your creature to block. And there's probably a lot of interactions that I haven't even thought about yet that will come up. Yeah, play this if you're green and you like creatures. Right, Benny?
Yeah, it has Ancient Tomb mana. You can also untap your Urza Saga, which seems awesome. It can be a discard outlet for if you play greenish madness decks, or like there was a new madness ability in the Spider-Man set. I can't remember the name of it. 2/4 being strong. It's playable for elves, where you search out the cradle all the time. It's playable in druids if you want to be like more experimental.
Ooh,
Also, I realized he's a French guy, like Jean-Emmanuel Deprat, and like the word formidable is a French word, but it's also an English word. So
Oh.
where they were choosing the name of the card, they were referring to him
Isn't
being
there
French.
the song?
Yeah.
Like there's a song like by Stromae. Formidable.
Yeah.
Okay, I went Formidable. Thanks,
what
Benny.
you left out is it's also able to untap your birthing pot.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Oh shit.
significant.
Man, there's so much going on
Yeah,
here.
in a world of solitude and fury, sometimes just playing it turn 3 or turn 2 even, and getting your removal in form of solitude or fury, just amazing.
Yeah, and the discard itself can be valuable, like Benny said, with Madness, with converter strategies. Even Sultai Reanimator, you can play this, discard your Archon, and get your Spider-Man that copies something from the graveyard. You can do the Loyal Retainers thing, where you play this, discard a Truxer, get Loyal Retainers or something. Play this card, please. I could talk an hour about this, I feel. But let's not. We need to move on. We have a lot of cards to go through. So the Mutable Explorer is another green 3-drop. It's a green and 2 generic for 1/1 Changeling. So it's a shapeshifter. It's every creature type. And when this creature enters, create a tap Mutavault token. Another really, really good card for multiple strategies. The green 3-drops are cooking in this set, I tell you. Why is this good? Because a Mutavault is a very, very good permanent. It's a mana source that also acts as an attacker and a blocker. And it enables random tribal strategies. It can play a central role in your tribal deck. But I also see this in Scapeshift because you create another land you can sacrifice. I see this basically in any green creature deck that cares about lands, like it triggers landfall. You know, it makes your Scythe Cat Cup bigger and then creates another attacker. This is great to blink. In ephemerate decks, you can make 3 Mutavaults. You know how stressful this is for your control opponent. Mutavaults are great, like I tell you. Obviously, Pod will maybe want to play this. Like you can pod your 2-drop into a relevant value generator. Yeah, I will definitely play it in a lot of decks. Will you, Benny?
It's an awesome guy. I will definitely. It helps you bigger creature, bigger tribal creature strategies, and yeah, I think you said everything.
I have to add, I'm not as high on this card as you are, just because it really reminds me of Wood Elves, which is a nice card, but does not see any play. So if you're not specifically on tribal, I wonder like how much better the Mutavault is. Wood Elves gets you a forest untapped, but it can also get you a surveillant, and Wood Elves currently does not see any play, so I'm not as high on it as you are.
I mean, that's a good point. I'm not super high on it. I'm generally more generous with my like expression about cards. I think we both like it because it's really cute. It was like one of the first spoiled cards, and like
Yeah.
changing coming back excited a lot of people.
I get it.
Yeah, it's no formidable speaker, but it's a really nice card to try out. Which brings us to Virulent Emissary, Benny.
Yeah, Virulent Emissary, a green, 1/1 Elf Assassin with Death Touch. And whenever another creature you control enters, you gain 1 life. So it's a Soul Sister. It's a green Soul Sister. There was 1 green Soul Sister before for 1 green. I think this is the second one. This one checks only your own creatures. If you play life gain strategies like Soul Sisters or Ruin Your Evening, it's a good addition because it helps you earlier triggering your Ajani's Pride Mage cards. It then can later block the bigger creatures that we talked about earlier, and it being an elf is not really necessary. I mean, it's an assassin.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
in
you don't
Assassin's
play
Creed
this in
set.
elf.
It's not in the Assassin's Creed set, but it's here. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't have much to add. The Death Touch just makes it one of the best Soul Sisters ever because Death Touch is like a really, really good ability.
Yeah.
And you
It's
draw this late game, it's relevant.
yeah. Death Touch. The Death Touch keyword's definitely improving a lot, like with the
Yeah.
Golfs and stuff.
Yeah, Leon, any additions?
The energy dude or the energy soul sister from Madu likes the word from Modern Masters likes the word with that because you said one the best soul sister, but yeah, nothing more to add.
One of the best.
One of the
Yeah,
best.
obviously it also doesn't trigger. Yeah, it also doesn't trigger of your opponent's creatures. The original Soul Sister, Soul Warden is really incredible because your opponent's plays blockers and that also triggers your life gain things. Yeah, but you play this if you play Soul Sisters with green. I think that is a given. Which brings us to Springleaf Parade. I take this one. It's a double green X enchantment. And when this enchantment enters, create X 1/1 colors shapeshifter creature tokens with changeling. So they're every creature type. And creature tokens you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. So this card also does a lot by itself. It naturally scales with your deck, with your game. Excuse me, like in Elves, obviously you can play this in the mid game for X equals 3 or 4, or it can be a massive blowout in the late game if you draw it. It's really a buff rate when it comes to the static ability that your creature tokens also tap for mana. There are tribes that create a lot of tokens, like elves, that all of a sudden you play this even for X equals 1, and you basically gain the mana back that you invested. I don't know if this makes the cut though, because also you're looking for tribal density, and this is not a kindred enchantment, so you can't find it with your elf related or any tribal related tutors. But I think it's a really cool option for decks that are especially looking for these effects.
Yeah.
Any?
It says creature tokens you control have that, so it can be a ritual in a token deck if you, for example, have like 4 to 6 1/1s and you just play it for 2 green. Without adding creatures, you
Oh
can
yeah.
just ramp a lot. So for creature token strategies, it's a tool. It's cute.
What about mono green Eldrazi?
No,
Because you generate a lot of mana there. No,
no.
it's probably not making that cut. Okay. Leon, any thoughts here?
No.
Okay. Which brings us to Abigail Eloquent First Year. I'm taking this one. It's 2 hybrid black and white, a 2-drop for 1/1. It's a bird bard. That's fun to say. Flying first strike lifelink. And when Abigail enters, up to 1 other target creature loses all abilities. Put a flying counter, a first strike counter, and a lifelink counter on that creature. Now, this card doesn't jump out to me as being overly powerful, but it's very unique. I don't think we've seen many, or if at all, creatures that on ETB just put a humility on a creature, or a dress down rather. Now the downside being that you put all these keywords on a card. So let's say your opponent has a creature with an effect that you want to get rid of, like a Magus of the Moon. As an example, if a Magus is out, this is hard to cast. But anyway, the Magus of the Moon becomes a 2/2 first strike lifelinker flying. That's not nothing. That is risky to do. You can also put this on your own creatures to get rid of a ability that would shrink it. The best example of that is Death's Shadow. Also, putting this on a token, I think it's pretty good. Like, tokens usually don't have abilities anyway. So if you put this on a 2/2, I don't know, Knight token created by your Gideon, that's pretty cool. Now the question being, all of this stuff, does it does it make it worth it to include a 2-mana 1/1 in your deck? I think this is one of the cards that you really have to play to see if it works out. But what are your thoughts, Leon?
So I think it will make up for great stories. Like you play it and you get really crazy scenarios because of the unique effect. But I feel like most of the time you will not get the value out of it that you want. Like there are, I mean, it's nice against Barogorth, Tarmogoyf, the Goyfs, of course, but um, for example, against Oculus, it's not the best, giving your opponent 5/5 Oculus like lifelink. Additionally, I feel like most of the
Yeah.
time you won't get enough out of it. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
It's too conditional.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Technically, you can like turn off Indestructible of the Merit Lash and then you can fail push it, but I will not sleeve it up.
Yeah, my estimate is also that this will be in hands of players, and they're like, I don't want to cast this, and then they cut it. So, but it's unique. So we wanted to talk about it.
Yes.
And that brings us to Bogart Cursecrafter and Benny.
Bogart Cursecrafter, it's a black and a red Goblin Warlock 2/3 creature. It has Death Touch, and whenever another goblin you control dies, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So, what does it do? It's a Soul Sister for, I know it's a Blood Artist for goblin creatures, for goblin creature decks. There's a lot. I mean, it's pretty simple design, but there's some things going on there. So Death Touch, as we said before, is like Death Touch ability is improving a lot. Also, it says each opponent. So if you are playing the Goblin Aristocrats deck that Dominic talked about earlier, you can kill through the ring. So if the opponent plays a ring, has ring protection. Oh, does it? Does it kill through the ring? No, right?
No, he has protection from damage
Ah, okay.
because it deals damage. If it was life loss, the ring wouldn't matter. But
Ah, okay. Okay. So it doesn't kill through the ring. But like goblins have a lot of like 1/1s, as we said earlier. It's an okay card. Also,
yeah,
the
and
flavor
Death
text.
Touch for me.
Goblins have the best flavor text.
This-
This bone is a good bone. Very angry. I can make lots of pain with this one.
I believe him, and I think this doesn't need interpretation. Yeah, for me, Death Touch again puts this over the edge, where even if you like have no board and play this, it has an immediate impact just because of Death Touch. And yeah, in the Goblin Aristocrat strategy, this is obviously a staple if it comes together. That is always what I want to say. It doesn't exist yet. I need to try. Leon?
Nothing more to it. Great goblin card.
Yeah, and for all the Leon fans out there, we have a block with Benny and Dom a lot, but then Leon gets a block, so hold out a bit. Yeah, we try to give the cards to players that have the most affinity with certain playstyles. Turns out sometimes the blocks just wind up like that. All right, which brings us to our first Evoke Elemental, Catharsis. Before I read the card, I want to quickly talk about this category of cards. So all of these are fairly expensive creatures that have hybrid mana cost, and some, like in most cases, not really great stat lines for their cost. But they can both be, all of them can be evoked for 2 mana, and then you get the cast abilities out of it. So on turn 2 for double red, you could evoke Catharsis and get basically a little overrun effect, or you can pay double white and get 2 tokens. What's really important to keep in mind is that this is a cast, like it's an ETB with a cast condition. So let's say you evoke Catharsis and ephemerate it, you won't get another ETB trigger because it hasn't been cast. So this makes it less exciting for people who want to really abuse blink and reanimation. However, all of these are at least mana value 5, so they will all trigger up the beanstalk. And I've been building up the beanstalk decks for the good of the last 1.5 years now. It's a really interesting and I think powerful archetype, and all of these elementals have implications specifically for that archetype. I'm going to talk about it quite a bit. I know not everyone in the community is on beans, but I am, so I will do. But we will also talk about these, obviously, with other implications, because there are many. Okay, so Catharsis is a 6-drop in Boros, 4 generic, then hybrid red-white for 3/4 elemental incarnation. It reads, when this creature enters, if double white was spent to cast it, create 2 1/1 green-white Kithkin creature tokens. And when it enters, but you paid double red to cast it, creatures you control get +1/+1, gain haste until end of turn. So as a 2-drop evoker, you get one of the effects, then it dies. But if you cast it for its full 6 mana and can create the conditions for both triggers, you also get 2 triggers, right? So ideally, you cast this for 6, you get 2 1/1s and the overrun ability. Now, Catharsis itself, I think, slots nicely into token strategies because it does 2 things you really care about, making bodies and make those bodies go ham. In those decks, traditionally, you won't get to 6 mana. You don't really try to ramp. You don't really play cards that ramp you to 6 mana, but sometimes the game just takes long into round 7, 8, 9. You draw this, you're like, oh damn, I can like go nuts. Then you play this for 6, you get 2 1/1s, you get the overrun, you swing with 2 2/2s and the 4/5 that have haste. Notably, they don't have trample. That would have been great. But the versatility of this card, specifically on tokens, makes it good. And one note before I give it to the others, there's an archetype in Canadian Highlander called Mardu tokens, and that has been pretty successful. The European Highlander scene hasn't really adapted that deck type too much. So anyone listening that has affinity to these strategies and colors, maybe give it a try. I think there's a legit deck there as well for us. And Catharsis is where you might want to start. Benny.
Don't cast it. Don't evoke it for 1 red and 1 white.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Don't
here.
take these backs.
Notably,
Okay,
it's
Leon.
the
anything?
weakest power and toughness wise of the cycle, I think. And yeah, the one I'm least excited about. But it slots pretty well into the Mardu token archetype. I've never played myself, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like I say, it's underexplored. Also, Naya tokens can be a thing.
Yeah.
But let's move on.
I mean,
Let's
this
move
one
on
is
to the next one. Sorry, Benny.
this one is the most expensive of these, I think, but I think it's one of the best ones to hardcast.
That is true. That is a lot of power swinging, right? Deceit, a bit different, this one. It's 4 generic, then a hybrid blue-black. It's a 5/5. And when it enters and you have the double blue cast condition, then you can return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And if you fulfill the double black condition, you can basically thought seize your opponent. You look at the hand and choose a non-land card to discard. Yeah, this is a great option for blue-black. The question is, where does this slot in? Obviously, the bounce ability is really good when it's attached to a card like Brazen Borrower. It's not as good if it's sorcery speed, which yeah, it doesn't enable you to really disrupt your opponent's turn that in the same way that Brazen Borrower can do it. Also, double black. I think this ability is much better. I believe that the Thoughtseize ability for 2 mana is still worth it in a lot of cases, and worth it enough to consider this card, because you do get a good chunk of versatility. In blue-black on turn 2, you can bounce the opposing creature that they developed, basically buy a lot of time. Or non-land permanent, if you're playing against combo, this can be relevant. If they lose their, I don't know, Helm of Obedience, I can't think of a good example right now. If that still sees play. And then obviously, if you cast it for the full retail amount, I want to note that the abilities trigger in such a way where you bounce a permanent first, and then you can Thoughtseize it away. So it gets rid of something almost definitely, which is really good. And a 5/5, that's a great stat line. If you get to 6 mana, who knows? Sometimes it happens. But even if you don't, this card is playable and can be considered for decks that can reliably cast both colors, like Sultai. Leon, what do you think?
Yeah, it has a lot of flexibility. So I think it for sure will see some play. I don't really know about Reanimator just because of the fact that, for example, reanimating and paying 6 life for a vanilla 5/5 is just not good enough. But the flexibility of having the bounce or the discard, it will never be a dead card. So you will always have will it will always get some value out of it.
Yeah.
And of course, when you pay all the 6 mana for it, it's can swing games around and will be a haymaker. But getting there is obviously difficult to get up to 6 mana. So I like this most. I like the versions for 5 mana that we will get to in a bit, because they are just easier to cast.
Don't worry it for 1 blue and 1 black. I like most of the elementals in cascade strategies. So there's some possibilities to play them where your deck asks you to not play either, like, depending on which cascaders you play, not cheaper cards than 4 or not cheaper cards than 5. So these elementals slot well into there because you can get some stuff for your early game, and then also getting value of them in the late game. So I like them. This one especially for Living End, where you only have 1 Living End to cascade into, and you sometimes need to check the opponent's hands for counterspell or like an endurance. And with this card, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the blue ones pitch to your forces, your foil,
Of course.
whatever you play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why these elementals are so cool. The implications for multiple deck archetypes, they really make you think. And I have the feeling some of them might be better than we think, while others might be worse. We really need to play with them, which is always fun. That brings us to a Deep Channel Duelist, Benny's card.
Yeah, the Deep Channel Duelist is 2/2 Merfolk for 1 white and 1 blue, so 1 white blue. And it's a Merfolk Lord, so other creatures get +1/+1. And at the beginning of your end step, untap target Merfolk you control. So Merfolk has a lot of 2 mana lords. This is another lord. So they are one of the best creatures in the Merfolk typo strategy. This one is right. So as I said before earlier, if you want to play like band Merfolk, or if you want to play like blue-white Merfolk, this is an option for you. Like, especially band Merfolk is harder because I think one of the best cards in Merfolk are also Back to Basics and the Harbinger of Seas. So maybe something for white blue Merfolk.
I have nothing to add here. Leon?
Neither.
Yeah, it's a Benny block, so Deepway Navigator.
Yeah, the Deepway Navigator, 1 white and 1 blue. It's a Merfolk Wizard 2/2 with Flash. And when this creature enters, untap each other Merfolk you control. And as long as you attack with 3 or more Merfolk this turn, Merfolk creatures get +1/+0. So it's obviously something for your Merfolk deck. So Flash is handy there because even though your creature strategy, you play counter spells and you want to be flexible with them. It can with Merfolk also you oftentimes have to consider if you want to like attack with them or if you want to keep some back. And with this one, you get some more flexibility. You can like offer swing. The opponent thinks, okay, I block like this and I block like this, and then maybe he thinks he can raise you, and then you play this one and tap, and then block or jump block. Or also it has a combo application where it combos with Splinter Twin. I think it
Mhm.
does it combo with Jiki. It also does.
No,
No.
No, okay.
no, because he doesn't untap Kiki. It only combos with
All right.
exactly Splinter Twin.
So and like the bottom text, like getting a little bit of extra power is also decent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the second Splinter Twin creature I teased earlier. Obviously, the fact that it doesn't combo with Kiki makes it somewhat less exciting, but it's still one of the better creatures that combos, just for the fact that it's a 2/2 flash that can sometimes also block something to death. Yeah, but the density for Splinter Twin is cool, but this is definitely a major player for Merfolk, Leon.
Yeah. Nice Merfolk card to have to boost the archetype.
Yeah. And then Benny talks about emptiness.
So emptiness, it's 3/5 for 4 mana and 1 hybrid black, 1 hybrid black. It's an elemental incarnation. When
White,
this
black, white, black.
white, black, and 4. When this creature enters, if white was spent to cast it, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. When this creature enters, if black was spent to cast it, put 3 -1/-1 counters on up to target creature. So this one, it's 6 mana. The body is not as great, so 3/5 is more defensive, which can be okay. I mean, the reanimation ability for white is cool. I mean, technically you can play it in mono white, as all the other elementals. You can like just take one of these hybrid mana to slot them inside your monocolor decks. So this one gives you a reanimation ability for mono white technically. Sorry. I see it rather in things like Abzan, because like in Abzan you have a lot of mana, so hard casting it is nice. Getting back these 3 mana costed green creatures or white or black creatures is nice. Maybe you can also no, but for Giant it's not good because I don't play white. The black evoke ability is okay. The good thing about it is that it puts 3 -1/-1 counters. So reanimating this one is not so great. Yeah, that's all from me.
Yeah,
Leon.
so I think in comparison to the one we had before, the white and the black ability are a little bit more efficient. The black one reminds me of the Harvester of Misery, but Harvester only gives -2/-2, and this one puts 3 counters. on it, but it's not instant speed. Yeah, interesting card. I don't really see a home for it right now, and you have to get the full value out of these. You always have to spend like double white, double black, or whatever colors they are in. And as we know from the Titans, from Uro, Flage, Croxa, this mana to get to get this mana together can be quite difficult.
Yeah, I have to add that there's this deck archetype floating around called 3 Animator. It's usually Esper, where your goal is to play Unearth, Helping Hand, anything that is cheap and reanimates something with 3 cost or less. And they usually try to do it with Abhorrent Oculus and other pushed conditional 3 drops. So this might be nice there to slot in. Where I also see it is in like this white black aristocrat slash dead guy ale deck that a friend of us played recently that I thought was pretty strong, where you can easily make use of both abilities, but you also have like Ancient Tomb and other mana cheats to realistically cast this for 6 in the mid to late game. So yeah, of note, I don't think it's great in either Living and Beans because the first ability is usually not great. Bean stacks usually don't play these creatures that fulfill the condition, and Living End certainly doesn't.
It's
So
good.
this one is more niche than others, I think.
It's maybe better for hypergenders where the removal is
Oh yeah,
more needed because with Living End you worth a bot. And
that's
like
true.
removing creatures can be sometimes not the best thing.
Yeah, and minus yeah, but -3 toughness matters a lot. I think of Virtue of Persistence that kills a lot of stuff more so than Harvest of Misery that
I mean
like stuck in my hand way too many times.
like shrinking Barrogoyf seems nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's also permanent shrink. So even if you cast this in a pinch on a Goyf, that could be good enough to be able to block it favorably, right? All right, moving on to Figure of Fable, Benny.
Figure of Fable, it's hybrid green and white. It's a 1 mana 1/1 Kiskin and has 3 abilities. The first one, hybrid green, hybrid white. This creature becomes a Kiskin scout with base power and toughness 2/3. Second ability, 1 generic, green-white hybrid. This creature is a scout. It becomes a Kiskin's. If this creature is a scout, it becomes a Kiskin soldier with base power and toughness 4/5. Third ability, 3 generic, green-white hybrid. If this creature is a soldier, it becomes a Kiskin avatar with base power and toughness 7/8 and protection from each of your opponents. Okay, this is a spin-off of the what was the
Figure of Destiny.
Figure of Destiny,
Figure of Destiny.
the Bowers version of that. This one, apart from the color identity, approved in most cases. So it's easier to cast. So the second and third ability has more generic mana. The creature gets bigger, and in the end, it's like a leveled up Hex Drinker. So getting protection from each of your opponents is pretty nice. So obviously the first ability feeds the second ability, and the second ability feeds the third ability. It being a Kiskin is not very relevant, but having hybrid mana is useful, so you can play it maybe in mono white, where Fable was like the original Fable was a staple, or maybe in mono green Stompy. Yeah, that's it for me.
So yeah, I played a ton of Figure of Destiny, and I really liked the card a lot. It got power crept out of the format, obviously. Yeah, but this one is a power crept Figure of Destiny, so I'm really excited to play it. And also, this one being in green means it can be paid with um Gas Cradle, so it's easier to level up because you can pay the cost with the mana elves. And I generally really like these kind of cards, like also the Hex Drinker, because it gives you play early on, but also a mana sink for mid and late game. The drawback on these is always that you pay the mana, the opponent removes the creature in response, and you've wasted your turn. So yeah, that's always something to be aware of.
Okay, that's Figure of Fable. Let's move on to Grub's Command, Benny.
Grub's command is 3 black and red. It's a kindred sorcery goblin. So choose 2. Create a token that's a copy of target goblin you control. Creatures target player controls get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn, and destroy target artifact or creature. Or target player mills 5 cards and then puts each goblin card milled this way into their hand. So in this set, they printed 2-color kindred commands. This one is a goblin version. I'm really looking forward to play with this card because the problem with goblin decks, the goblin deck especially, was that sometimes you struggled against, as we said before, the card Barrogoyf or Cyclic Frog or any pesky creature, and you were not able to put a lot of heart removal inside your deck because a lot of your goblins asked you to have a lot of goblin cards inside their decks. So cards like Goblin Ringleader or Muxus made you not able to have a lot of removal inside your deck. And this command gives you a heart removal not only for creatures, but also artifacts. So it can destroy Jite, which is very annoying for your goblin deck. It can maybe, if people are still playing Batterskull, it can destroy Batterskull. It can destroy a
Ensnaring
lot of
Witch.
these. It can destroy a lot of these 1-mana artifacts, which has a lot of activated abilities like Currency Converter and Retrofitter Foundry. All the commands have the base of the floor basically that you copy one of your tribal creatures, and therefore a lot of them are sorcery. It being a sorcery for me is not really a downside because it means for me that wizards knew that the ability to copy one of your creatures is so powerful that they could not make it as an instant. The only exception was the elemental one. But as a base version, you can, for example, copy Ringleader. Or you copy one of these Rebel Master tokens. And then you pump all the tokens. The new versions get haste. Or you have these Ringleader triggered ability. You look at the top 5 cards, take all the goblins. And then also, I don't know, pump your team. Or you destroy an artifact, you have a lot of possibilities. Also, the hidden mode can be if you're playing against a deck which puts a card on top of their deck. Because it says target player mills 5 cards, you can also mill the opponent. For example, if they put,
wow.
for example, play against a combo deck and they played Imperial Seal and they put something which seems very annoying on top, you just mill them and pump your team. Copying a Muxus seems really awesome. So it being 5 mana seems much, but goblins want to get to Muxus in a lot of cases anyway. So I think 5 mana is not that bad in goblins, in Rakdos goblins. And I think you you guys will die to that a lot of times in the future. That's a really awesome card. Also, the artwork's really awesome. This was one of the first artworks that was spoiled. And I don't know, I just love this card.
Yeah, I feel that. The artwork for me is like, this is what goblins have on their wall, their parents or something as a portrait. I don't know. Yeah, I have nothing much to add. It's amazing versatility. Versatility is always great in Highlander. I want to note that all of these are worded in such a way that every ability has targets. So if you target something and the target becomes illegal, the spell won't fizzle because you almost always have another legal target. So you target your Muxus with the first ability, then any other ability also targets either a player or a permanent. So it's really hard for your opponent to fizzle that one. That's nice. That's a great design decision to have this fail safe here. And yeah, Benny, you named it all.
One thing I have to say, maybe I did not mention it. You can obviously search it with Matron, and you can search it with the Goblin Harbinger, and you can reveal it of the Ringleader too.
Yeah. Leon,
Yeah.
any to add?
That's it.
Okay, High Perfect Morkant. It's me. It's a 4-drop 4/4 elf for 2 generic black green. And it reads, whenever High Perfect Morkant or another elf you control enters, each opponent blights 1. And then you can tap 3 untapped elves you control to proliferate. And you can activate that only as a sorcery. I really like this in Golgari Elves. It gives the deck an edge it usually doesn't have, interacting with your opponent's board. And let's say you play this, you have your mana generator, your Elvish Arch Druid, you have so much mana, you have a Cradle, and you follow this up with an Elf. Already it blights 2 on your opponent's board. And you can do it in such a way where the opponent really has a hard choice. Do I want to kill my own creature with 2 toughness, or do I want to separate the -1/-1 counters? But that would mean that the proliferate becomes more powerful. And proliferate itself is also an ability that is oftentimes better than you think. Like, it won't only proliferate your -1/-1 counters, it can also proliferate your loyalty counters on your Garuks or Nissas. It can proliferate +1/+1 counters that else also deep, like not deep, but there are +1/+1 counters floating around in your elf deck probably. So yeah, and it's beefy. It's 4/4. That is a great stat line to have. And yeah, all around, really solid. And if I play Golgari Elves, I'll definitely slam this and see what it does. Leon?
Proliferating your opponent's One Ring.
It's a chunky elf mother.
Oh yeah, that's hot. Yeah,
Yeah, great elf card.
yeah, Benny.
It's cool.
I think Benny's good. All right, let's move on to Mischievous Sneakling. Cute little common for Benny.
So the Mischievous Sneakling is a 1 and a blue-black hybrid changeling with flash. It's a shapeshifter and it's a 2/2. And I don't know if you're the player which likes to play creature strategies, especially like tribal or kindred strategies. Oftentimes you find yourself in the place where you want to play certain cards, but then there's a hole inside your curve, and these changing abilities, especially with the hybrid mana, give you a lot of ability to fill these slots. I mean, this one is, I think, the best one of this cycle because it has flash and changeling. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Flash is just a great ability in itself. And if you try to play, for example, zombies is a deck that notoriously is lacking in 2 drops. This would be a fine zombie to play, but obviously it also impacts any other tribe. So going forward, if you want to build a tribal deck, and like Benny said, you find yourself lacking density, Mischievous Sneakling is perfectly fine to play. Leon?
Nothing more to it.
Okay, which brings us to Morkan's Loyalist, and this one is also Benny's.
Morkan's Loyalist is 1 green black 3/2 elf warrior, and other elves you control get +1/+1. And when this creature dies, return another target elf from your graveyard into your hand. It's an elf lord, 3 mana, 3/2. It's fine, and it helps you against like removal or sweepers.
Yeah. Play it in Golgari Elves as a Lord and some protection. Because that deck, so Elves is usually the deck that is the most vulnerable against sweepers. Anything that helps you stabilize after a sweeper, you will play. That enables your strategy. Simple, Leon, right?
Yeah, and obviously the pump ability is everything you want from a tribal deck or from a lord. So probably play every single one
Yeah,
of them.
Not necessarily,
yeah, it's a
I
3
think
2
like
inside.
with elves and lords, you find yourself in the dilemma that you have lords which asks you to attack, and you have like mana elves which asks you to tap them. So I don't think necessarily you need all the elf lords and elves, but this one can be okay.
Mhm. Moving on to the Shadow Urchin. That's mine. It's a 3 mana 3/4 for 2 generic and a hybrid black and red. It's an oof. And whenever this creature attacks, blight 1. And whenever a creature you control with 1 or more counters on it dies, exile that many cards from the top of your library. Until your next end step, you may play those cards. So I talked about it a bit before. There's this implication that these are playable in aristocrats. Blight 1 can be an upside, and basically any sack engine in aristocrats that is also a creature you need to look at, as well as if it's a card advantage engine, because you will run out of cards if you don't have triggers like this one or Midnight Reaper or Grim Harrispex. And this one does exactly that while having great stats. The thing about Midnight Reaper, Grim Harrispex, and all that, they have 2 toughness, they die to everything. This one is much harder to kill. It has Ancient 2 mana. And yeah, for me, it's a really solid option specifically for that deck type. And I think in most other cases, this is a bit harder to include in other decks. At least I can't think of much. Maybe in mono black, if you have a lot of these 2/1s that also can return to the battlefield, then this can be basically a draw a card every turn, where you sacrifice your I don't know, Dread Wanderer, impulse draw 1 card, then bring it back, and yada yada. There's a lot of this stuff that you can do with that, but I like this card. It has some uses. Leon?
Yeah, it's pretty efficient stats and easy to cast, which makes it interesting on itself. And yeah, one thing I want to add is that you have to play the card in the same turn you exile it.
Mhm.
So that's sometimes a little difficult to do.
Yeah.
And you also have to attack to get the blight trigger, which is also a little bit of a downside. Yeah.
So it can help you, so you can cast it through Markers of the Moon
through Blood Moon, and you can also cast it through or with Dark Witcher, which is an upside. But besides that, I have nothing to add.
Yeah. All right. Then 6 command, Benny.
6 command is 1 white blue Kindred Merfolk. Choose 2. Create a token that's a copy of target Merfolk you control. Second mode, creatures target player control gain lifelink until end of turn. And third mode, target player draw a card. Draws a card. Fourth mode, tap target creature and put a stun counter on it. It's
And it's a sorcery.
It's a
You forgot
sorcery,
to
yeah.
mention it's a sorcery.
As I said before, like most of them are sorcery, and because you can copy your Merfolk. This one is pretty cheap. If you play as a risk Merfolk, you play it. Drawing cards nice. Copying a lord's nice. Giving life link helps you in race. Merfolk often need to raise because there are less of them because you're playing counterspell and you have a lot of lords, which asks you to get into combat because if people kill them over time, then you are not in the best spot. Also, tapping target creature and putting a stun counter on helps you with the racing. Yeah, cool artwork.
Yeah, I think this is a great card because the floor is also not that bad. Let's say you have an empty board. Tapping something down for 2 turns, or yeah, for 1 turn basically, and drawing a card is not too bad. Like, you know, these games where you play Teferi, Time Reveler, bounce something, draw a card. I don't know if the comparison is great, but just that disable a creature from attacking me and draw a card itself is often very good. So that's why I like this card a bit more than the others. It's the failed state is still decent for 3. What do you say, Leon?
Yeah, so only pretty much only fits in Merfolk. But I think it's also important that we talk about these more niche cards, not only about the good stuff. To yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Then Leon, you're back.
so yeah, we got Tam
Yeah.
Mindful First Year for 1 generic and 1 hybrid green/blue. It's a 2/2 legendary Gorgon wizard. Each other creature you control has hexproof from each of its colors, and it taps target creature you control becomes all colors until end of turn. So it's an easy to cast for which yeah, for many decks because you only need a green or a blue, and it does something immediately when it comes into play where it itself has pretty much or which where it has hexproof from blue and green spells, which means it can't be assassin trophied or abrupt decayed. And I think it's a nice choice for creature based combo deck where it gives you another Mother of Rune variant to protect your combo pieces. And also, like in if you're also in black, uh, it you don't necessarily have to tap it for it to have an impact because like there's so much black removal that your Barrowgolf having hexproof from black means they always first have to remove your Tam, and for that they need 2 removal spells because when they target it in response you tap it, give it protection, and they need another removal spell. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, really cool card. Very versatile. Like you said, notably, it already like the most important thing is that it already does something without like with summoning sickness. There's this other card, Pippin from the Lord of the Rings sets, that gives something protection from a card type. that is good but doesn't see play. It's also harder to cast. This one I see easily slotting in a lot of decks from mono green, mono blue, Sultai, like that affinity with black creatures you mentioned for me is really good. Also, this gets better the more multicolored creatures you play, like Leo Void, and then this. Like what kills Leo Void? Okay, bold, but just as an example, or Psychic Fork gets hexproof from Brazen Bower and all black removal spells. Yeah, it's really cool. I need to see it in action, which is true for a lot of Lorwyn cards, which is awesome. We really need to experience how this card plays. Yeah,
Thumbs up.
Benny?
Yeah, it feels like
All right.
this set they got really creative again, and there are so many interesting cards which are hard to evaluate. Yeah, I really like this set.
Yeah, you can feel that the designers really gave their all. There were sets last year where you didn't have that feeling.
Mm.
Okay, let's talk about Vibrance, Leon.
Yeah, so Vibrance, 3 generic, one hybrid green red, and one hybrid green red. It's a 4/4 elemental incarnation, which, like all the other elementals, has evoke, hybrid green red. And if you cast it for red, um, this creature deals 3 damage to any target, so a lightning bolt. And if you cast it for green, you get to search your library for a land card and put it into your hand, and you gain 3 life. Like it's a better
2
Sylvan
life.
Scrying. So I feel like this is the most pushed one, most powerful one of the cycle, because both modes are really efficient, and it slots in mono green decks, it slots in mono red decks. If you are in Gruul, even better. It also not only dealing 3 damage to creatures but also to players, makes it really nice for aggressive decks. And yeah, Benny, what else you got to add?
Can kill Argos of the Moon for 2 red. And it
right.
can search Wasteland, it can search Cradle, it's a 4/4. Good artwork, like it.
Yeah, incredible card. Like, why does the Sylvan Scrying ability gain 2 life? It just does, but that's not nothing either. If you take your turn 2 off to search for land, finds Maze of Ith, you can reliably cast this for full retail 5 mana in a green deck. Then it's a 5 mana 4/4 that Sylvan Scries gains 2 life. Like for me, this is I think the only one of these that is playable in a monocolor deck, in green lands. I've been playing mono green lands for quite some time now. It's a really cool deck. I don't know how strong it is, but this will help definitely. Yeah, excited to play with this
It's
as well. And I
it's
think this
very
is
strong.
yeah,
It's very
yeah.
strong,
I think it's
but
also the best one for beans.
it's very strong, but it's very simple, I think. Like technically you get the 2 life for the 7 scrying because it's green. I also have to add, very important, don't
Yeah.
evoke it for 1 red and 1 green.
Thank you, Benny. No, I would have done it. Wistfulness, Leon.
Yeah, so Wistfulness for 3 generic and 2 hybrid green blue. It's a 6/5 elemental incarnation. It has the same evoke as all the other elementals. And for green, you get to exile target artifact or enchantment in opponent controls. And for blue, you get to draw 2 cards and discard a card. So this is my second favorite one, just because it's also 5 mana and it has the best stats of all of them. And I think this one will slot right into Dimir Reanimator, even though they are not able to use the first mode of the card, they are already playing chart across, and yeah, this one sometimes I think sometimes uh, the play pattern of evoking it and just reanimating a 6/5 and beating your opponent down with a 6/5 is a legitimate game plan, as we see from the troll already. And yeah, and the draw discard is something you already really want in the deck. And sometimes like drawing and discarding like an Atraxa, but also having the wistfulness in the graveyard is nice if the opponent has graveyard removal for a single card, so you have at least the wistfulness to potentially reanimate.
Yeah, I also like this one for Cascade, where the card selection part is necessary to find your Cascaders. Also for living and you are sometimes playing against graveyard hate enchantments or artifacts that you need to remove because like Reanimator is kind of a problem for some meta games. And the looting ability also can help you like for living and put creatures into your graveyard more efficiently. Also, 5 mana 6/5 is really chunky.
Yeah. Yeah, you named it all. For me, also the second best of these. Yeah. Let's move on. The Reaper, King No More, Leon.
So the Reaper King No More costs costs hybrid to generic black, hybrid to generic red, hybrid to generic green, and is the 3/3 legendary artifact creature Scarecrow. When the Reaper King enters, put a -1/-1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Do this only once each turn. Yeah, I really like this card. It's a powerful 3-drop for Junt, and I think stealing like your opponent's Ragavan or your opponent's Bowmaster or whatever in makes for strong board swings. And you have also the play pattern of casting this and afterwards evoking Fury or attacking with your team and then playing this one after combat to steal something that's a little bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, but notably it's like only good against creature decks, so this one won't do anything against, for example, Doomsday Storm. So there are some matchups where this one will be a dead card, but I'm excited to steal my opponent's cards.
Yeah, this is such a cool design. Notably, it also triggers beans. It's a 6-drop. Also means you can't unearth it, which like is a niche thing. But yeah,
So if I
love this
reanimate
card
it,
to bits.
I'm paying
Can't wait to see
6
it in
life.
action.
Sorry. So
If you remember, yes,
okay.
yeah, reanimate, you would lose 6 life. So in most circumstances, the high CMC is more than a downside, but it can't be abrupt decayed, which is funny. Yeah, Benny, anything to add?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Then you can talk about the Eclipsed Realms.
Yeah, the Eclipsed Realms is a land, and as this land enters, choose Elemental, Elf, Fairy, Giant, Goblin, Kiskin, Merfolk, or Treefolk. And it adds one colorless, not generic, colorless, and it also can add one color of any color. 1 mana of any color, and spend this mana only to cast a spell of the chosen type or activate an ability of a source of the chosen type. So it's one of these tribal lands. It's better than Unclaimed Territory. I think it's like the one from the Zendika, the new Zendika set. It has the same text, but it only checks the Lorwyn tribes. But to be frank, these are one of the best tribes. It can add colorless for your Eldrazi, but I don't see a reason why you will play it. It's a good tool. You need to
It's a nice density card.
you need to cast your spells, and lands help you to cast your spells.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty simple card, and we can move on. I want to talk about these two together. It's Rainslicked Copse is a forest island, comes into play tapped, has cycling 2. So it's one of the cycle lands. Then we have Sodden Verdure. It's a forest island. And this land enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. It's one of the so-called Tango lands. So they completing cycles that have left uncompleted. One thing, I have no idea what a copse is. Like, where do they take these words from? They must have eaten a thesaurus. Anyway, why do we talk about this? Because these are dual lands that are islands. And this is very important for High Tide. Now, High Tide is a deck we haven't seen in ages. But hey, why not bust out the old High Tide? And any dual land, playable dual land cycle that has island in its name has like more implications. So now you can play Simic High Tide more easily because you have more islands to get and fetch into. And that's basically it. Maybe the cycling ones are a bit underplayed. They can be played in control decks, but the Tango lands are basically unplayable everywhere. Yeah, should we bring it home with the last one? We shall. It's the Abundant Countryside, Benny.
Abundant Countryside. It's land. It taps to makes a colorless. It also taps to add 1 color of any color, a 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. It has a activate ability for 6 generic and tap, and create a 1 colorless shapeshifter creature tokens with changeling. So if you play tribal, obviously you can play it. It helps like even non Lorwyn tribes. Especially it's good for 3 color or plus tribes. And 2 color tribes you can play it. It's not super necessary. The 6 mana activate ability is kind of a bonus. Sometimes you flat out and you need something to do. But also if you're a non-tribal deck, for example, like Hoof, sometimes going into like a lot of colors, and they have a lot of creatures to cast. This one can help you with that, and if you tap Cradle, 6 mana is not a lot.
Yeah, nailed it. Leon, any thoughts?
Amazing artwork. That's from me to
Oh, yeah. Damn. Iris. Iris Compete. I remember that name. And that rounds up our card by card review. It has been like, 3 hours? But we're not done yet, quite. We have some awards to give. And yeah, let's just jump right into them. First of all, we have the best card in the set. So each of us asked us individually, ignoring all the, bias, which card is the most likely to become a staple in the format, basically. And these are our choices. Oh, it's a bit cut off, I think. Sorry about that.
Doesn't.
Oh, okay, then it's just my view. All right, Leon, tell us why you think Vibrance is the best card.
No, this is my card.
Sorry.
So on the
Benny's
left
card,
side
yeah.
there's my card, in the middle there's Leon's card.
And the cut-off cards are your cards. Vibrance, we talked about before. I think it's really strong, but I also have to add my goal, because I added my cards last, was to not pick the cards that you already picked. So, but Vibrance, like generically, it's one of the best, I think, because like 3 damage is nice. Finding a land in a world where lands get more powerful is awesome. Um, I don't know. I feel like this one looks not as strong, but it will turn out be strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moonshadow is
Leon,
my
tell
pick.
us why.
It's just a really efficient beater for 1 mana, which slots right into a lot of decks like Rakdos or Dimir or Grixis, which are already really good performing decks. And yeah, I feel like Wizards has been pushing black really hard, and the other colors kind of fell off a little bit. That's at least my point of view. And yeah, there are many cards that encourage you really hard to play black these days, and it's difficult to
Yeah.
not play black.
Yeah, it's cards like this that for me make Grixis tempo so much better than Jeskai, for example. Although Jeskai is also really powerful, but and have gotten great 1-drops in all colors, but the black ones, Jesus. Okay, my pick is Formidable Speaker. I think this is no surprise. This card will slot into every green creature deck, I think. Or rather, it's never a mistake to play it. And I think this will be a very, very high pick if people build creature decks going forward. I think we talked a lot about this one, how many implications it has. But for me, the clear winner here. All right, the next one is the best artwork. This is very subjective in turn. So let's see. Benny.
So yeah, I choose this Maverick guy. I don't know. He doesn't have any legs, but he's on the ground. The water's in the in the back. He looks very alarmed.
I love the colors. Like I really love how it plays with the yellow gold border. I
Yeah,
think it's just such a pretty card.
obviously it's very colorful. So mine is the most
Yeah.
like has the most different colors. But for the for the viewers, at least for the listeners on Spotify, there's a merfolk. It has a purple background and it's very colorful, and he's very alarmed and maybe a little bit out of
Deep Way
place.
Navigator.
Maybe it's a little bit out of place on the land.
Leon, you're more on the bleak side.
Yeah, I just really like the artwork. Because
Emptiness for the listeners.
Hmm? So
For the listeners, it's emptiness.
yeah, sorry.
The
It's
Orzhov,
emptiness. It's
Evoker.
a really majestic creature with horns and 1 eye in the middle, and it seems to be in a swamp-like environment with the sun shining through the clouds, and it just really well fits the name of the card, and it makes you feel a little bit of this emptiness.
Yeah, like this reminds me of like body horror, like Junji Ito or something. It's really menacing and such a great art by Ryan Pancoast, one of the best ones.
You don't want to face this
my
one in the wild.
No, also not in the city. Uh, my pick is Celestial Reunion, the tribal Green Sun Zenith. I just love the combination of colors going from the dark blue to the bright green, and in the middle it's like this basically meeting in the middle of the colorscape and these dragons embracing each other. like I will see if I can get a playmat of this. It's such a beautiful piece. I also really like the alternative artwork of this. But the regular one is what I think is for me the most prettiest one. Yeah, and finally, the cards we're most excited to brew with. So this can be, oh no, it's the penultimate one, not the last one. But let's see, like the cards that really trigger our deck builder's intuition. And for Benny, that is Deep Channel Duelist.
Yeah, it's a 2 mana
Wow.
white blue Maverick Lord. For me, I I mean, I focused a lot on not what decks I already built, which is a lot different builds, but rather on decks that I have not built so far. So being a blue-white Maverick means building a blue-white Maverick deck, which I have not done, and doing that seems pretty exciting, because like white means that you get a lot of really flexible, really good removal spells, which the Maverick decks I played before were lacking. And it also means if you are playing blue-white, like two colors, that you can find your back to basics with a Enlightened Tutor. It can also slot into Band Maverick, which is more value but doesn't have the non-basic hate. This is my pick.
Okay,
Yeah, my
Leon,
pick
tell us
was
about yours.
with the Evermore. I'm. You guys are clearly a little more creative when it comes to brewing. I just want to cast the Risk after evoking my Fury or my Solitude, so I'll probably pick up Boros in the near future again.
Yeah, totally valid. I mean, this card is cool because it tells you immediately the uses, but there will be many others that we don't haven't even talked about or thought about yet, and that is really awesome. For me, it's Tam Mindful First Year. I really, really love multicolored spells. I don't know why I have like a affinity for them, and this one rewards you incidentally for including a lot of multicolored creatures. So I want to build a deck that is a bit like Domain Zoo. So it's basically a 4-5 color zoo creature deck that uses a lot of multicolored creatures. And there are some ways that reward you for them. And Tom is one of them. Like you play your, I don't know, territorial Kavu, like I said, your Leo Void, um, like a lot of gold bordered creatures basically, and Tom basically slots right into there. And yeah, I have a special mention for the Splinter Twin creatures I talked about. I also built a Splinter Twin deck, will test it, but have my reservations if it's actually a viable archetype. So Tam has more leeway there. It's just a powerful card. It doesn't necessarily need the most brewing, but it can reward you for great brewing nonetheless. Okay, and the final category, sorry, the final category is the biggest sleeper. Basically, the Fable of the Mirror Breaker award for which card seems underwhelming, but is our bet on actually being really, really good. And Benny's pick is what?
I mean, this one was the hardest because the set is not out, and we necessarily don't know a lot what people are talked about. For me, the abundant countryside, I picked like the land which can create the shapeshifters in the late game, or can cast your tribal stuff. I mean, lands are the most necessary thing in Magic because without lands, nothing works. Like as I said before, you need to cast your spells, and therefore I feel like the need for this land is more for other cards, where I think most people currently don't realize how needed this land could be in the future, and therefore I picked it.
Yeah, great point, Leon.
Yeah, so my pick was the Glen Elendra Guardian, just because I think you, Dom, and Ben were not super excited about this card, and I feel like it's better than it seems. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, on that note, I think because it becomes a 3/4 flyer, that is a really, really great flying body, is something I might have underestimated as well. Like, this becomes a really good beater after the ability. Okay, and my pick is Morning Tide's Light, is actually a card we excluded. That's why I'm gonna read it. Okay, yeah, my pick is Morning Tide's Light. I'm gonna read it. It's a 4-mana sorcery. Exile any number of target creatures. At the beginning of the next end step, return those cards to the battlefield tapped under their owner's control. And until your next turn, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. Exile Morning Tide's Light. Okay, so originally I wanted to include it because now we have a lot of these spells that blink your whole board, and that is really great, obviously, in blink strategies, but it has the caveat that it does nothing when your opponent removes your creatures and you're not in a good shape already. So these cards are often win more cards. But this one also fogs you until the next turn, so you don't get any damage. The great thing about this is it's against decks that want to kill you with creatures or even spell damage. This can act like a 4-mana quasi time walk. So the flaw of this is actually doing something, but then blinking your whole board in the right deck is immensely powerful. While it can also, and that is something not all the others can do, it can also target your opponent's creatures, which can sometimes be great. You can reset a Murktide Regent, you can get rid of tokens. So that's also something that is kind of there, right? And all of this combined for me makes me consider it in Lorwyn, where you have a lot of these little cantrip creatures. You buy new ETBs again, but you also die a turn later, which can be really important for you to go off. And yeah, that's why this might be a sleeper hit for Highlander, but I really wanted to talk about it somewhere. And that, my friends, is it. Benny, take us home.
Yeah, so this was our first set review. Thank you guys for joining me. It took some time. It can be hard to talk for such a long time, so if you get used to it, maybe it's easier. Also, for the viewers and listeners, tell us how you liked our first iteration of this review, and that's it. Give us likes, give us comments,
Yeah,
and give us feedback. See ya.
yeah. Thank you.
Bye.